Good.
Perfectly loud, but nobody ever hears him or the sound he appears to make, and he never seems to notice. But the fool on the hill sees the sun going down, and the eyes in his head see the world spinning round. And nobody seems to like him. They can tell what he wants to do, and he never shows his feelings. The fool on the hill sees the sun going down, and the eyes in his head see the world.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here and welcome to our international convention, our Meet 2022. Thank you for being here this morning. Patricia Medina, on behalf of Nutesa'S Academic Department, welcomes you to this wonderful morning. This is our second day of our Nutesa'S Meet Convention, and remember that we are celebrating our 80th anniversary. Lourdes, good morning. Hello.
Morning, Patricia, and good morning, everyone. Yes, today we have three great speakers, yes, and let's start with the first one. Yes,
but first,
morning,
before
Benji,
something else, yeah, Benji.
Yes, Benji,
hello.
Morning from
Hello,
Arequipa.
good morning, everyone. So welcome to these Saturday sessions, and welcome to our speaker as well.
Yes, share what we have, Benji, please. Share what we have. Okay, this is our Meet Convention. Connect, reflect, and engage insights for the return to the classroom. Before this, we have something important. Yes, Benji? Yes.
Yes, the same rules as yesterday's sessions. We have general guidelines. In the first one, you have to mute your microphones during the sessions, please. Yesterday, we had some troubles about it, so be careful with that. And certificates will be awarded daily. To obtain them, you must attend all the complete session in a day. So in total, you will have 5 certifications plus 1 of completion. So be careful of register every single session. You must fill in the link in the chat box for your certificate and for participating in our raffle at the end of the session number 5, at the end of this Meet 2022. So we will have a raffle with your with a lot of presents, and we will send you your certificates from September 27th on. Attached, you will receive a survey to complete, right? And don't miss our raffle at the end of the test, as I mentioned before. Thank you.
Yes. Remember, please, it's really important that you must fill the link in the chat box for your certificates and, of course, for participating in our raffle at the end of this day. Okay, so it's important you can fill in the link for your certifications, right? What we have next, Benji? Yeah, Lourdes, what we have?
So we have today the CEST vaccine, yes?
And who is going
And
to?
who is going to be with us today is George Kokolas. George has been working as the academic director and teacher trainer for Express Publishing for the last 22 years. He is also a certified advanced neuro-language coach. He holds a diploma in positive psychology, trying to merge ELT into it through different mindsets and activities. He also holds a BA in English literature, and he is the co-host and producer of the internationally successful podcast, Teachers Coffee. Since 2020, he has been the senior editor, columnist for the Neuro-Language Collective magazine. He has delivered lectures, presentations, and demo lessons in 89 countries. Let's welcome George.
Yes.
George.
Thank
Hi,
you.
George.
Hello.
Thank you very
Morning
much. Hello.
here and afternoon. Good afternoon there.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
5 o'clock where we are broadcasting this seminar, this webinar from. So yeah, I know that's the webinar with your morning coffee. I've had already 3. I'm already on the 3rd coffee, but anyway, yeah, but nothing changes, and I'm sure, and I hope that you are going to enjoy this talk. Before I start, congratulations to Nutesa. Well, 80 years of a company. I must say that I've been having a collaboration with Nutesa for almost, since I started working in ELT 22 years ago, and I can assure our people here that they have a wonderful international reputation and a Peruvian reputation of great attendance, very high academic standards and professionalism, and it's always a pleasure to be here anytime. So yeah, congratulations again for this wonderful journey of 80 years, and I'm sure it will continue for many, many more years. I know that there are good people there, the company is in good hands, so this will continue for a lot of time to come. So congratulations again.
Thank you, George. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Much, George.
Okay, allow me to share my screen. Maybe you have been a little bit puzzled about the title of today's presentation, and I know that you might be thinking different things. We had a discussion before with the Nutesa team here about the pandemic and about COVID and stuff and vaccinations and whatever. This talk is not going to be about that. I'm not going to vaccinate you, but it's a metaphor. It's a symbolism that we have here just to attract your attention a little bit. And to tell you the truth, I came up with this title after all this craziness that we had regarding vaccination all over, the world. And I thought, why not having a vaccine for zest? Zest means excitement. It means enthusiasm. It means somehow a conscious decision to want to learn something and or do something, which I think we are lacking from education and from many other expressions of our lives. So today, I will try to do 2 things. The first one with this presentation will be to show you that zest, enthusiasm, is something that I would call it a scientific term. It's part of positive psychology research for many years right now. That's the easy part. Maybe the most difficult part is somehow to convince you that being enthusiastic about something, being zestful about something, is something that any of you can achieve. And if you can achieve it as teachers, I'm sure you can convey and transfer this to students. It's part of your inner being. It's there for sure. Sometimes all we have to do is bring it out. And I will try to indicate how this can be done specifically in an ELT classroom. Let's start. You have seen from my bio that I've been studying for almost 3 years now, positive psychology. I found a lot of answers there, not only in terms of education, but in terms of life in general. And provided that we're coming from a pandemic with so many different problems that have been recorded already, and there is a lot of research. If you go on Google and you look at the statistics before and after COVID, you will see that many children, many students, even many adults have been suffering for many problems. And this pandemic has left, a unique, I would dare say, trauma. So I think positive emotions are something that we need in our lives and specifically in education. And you will be surprised that you will see how much research has been done. Positive psychology is a relatively new science. It came up around 25 years ago. It's under, of course, the umbrella of psychology. And the main reason why they actually discovered it or started talking about it was because regular psychology was used only for the 9% of the world's population that had some problem. So these psychologists came out and say, why don't we care for the people who don't have any problem at all, any clinical, pathological problem, I mean? Why reaching this point? Why not to provide a procurement? Do something before someone reaches a point that he needs to go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist. So that's when they started, talking about positive emotions. And the first time that we can see zest, obviously we're talking about a huge literature here, many books, thousands of articles. But if you want to make a start, I would highly recommend that you have a look at the Character Strengths by Peterson and Seligman. They were not the first one to talk about positive emotions, but they came up with this circle that they defined 6 different strengths, character strengths that we all have. And under these strengths, you can see some values that, again, we all have. And you can see the zest, it's right here under the strength of courage. Bottom line, as a teacher, as parents, as people, as partners, if you practice any of these strengths on your own, you are within somehow the phasm of positive psychology. That is why I cannot see anything negative or anything wrong if you deal with any of these virtues. Any of these that might be implemented in your classes, you will definitely have a gain. And maybe this can be a beginning for more positive emotions to be generated. But today you're going to focus mostly on zest. And of course, if you want to take a test, and so you can see that this is a pretty scientific stuff, you can go and visit this particular, the VIA Character Institute, where there is a very short test, no more than 20 minutes. And you will find, if you take this test, it's absolutely free. I have also created a link. If you want to follow this, it will lead you exactly to the same test. This is, I did it just, to make it easier for you, but you will find your 2 strongest virtues or character strengths that you have inside you. When I took the test, love was the first one that came out from me, and the second one was zest. So that's another reason I decided to talk to you about this. But the point is, as I said before, we all have these virtues. Somehow they are hidden somewhere inside us. Sometimes we might be distracted and may not be able to seeing them, but they're there. And all we need to do is simply take them out in our everyday practices. However, there has been maybe 2 villains in the story. It's not like a walk in the park, meaning, I don't know if you have heard this book, The Secret. The Secret, is a book that practically says that if you want something very much, the whole universe conspires so this happens. And this is also, something that has been an idea very much promoted by Paulo Coelho. And many people believe that this is all about positive psychology. And sometimes, I also receive these comments, you are always positive, you are always smiling. How can you not see what is happening around you? Being positive does not mean that you cannot see the negative. Actually, this is all exactly about positive psychology. It's not only about thinking positively, but also accepting and facing the negative. This is like fundamental. This is really, really important. I'm not asking people to go around telling jokes all the time or laughing all the time. No, positive people are very conscious about what is happening around them. They face a lot of adversity. Some of them, they face real serious problems, but they consciously choose to see the positive side of it all the time. And there is an amazing book that I would highly recommend. I call it somehow the answer to Paulo Coelho into The Secret, which, by the way, they're pretty good books, but all I'm saying is that in a way they have been misunderstood, okay? And they say only one part of the story. If I keep it positive all the time, and then there might be a time, without being conscious about the negative part, there might be a time that I will be totally disappointed, okay? And in this idea, in this book by Gabriel Oxygen, Rethinking Positive Thinking, we get the idea of the mental contrasting. Now, maybe you can actually, I don't know if I have access to the chat, maybe you can see and you can recognize the man in the picture. Can anybody tell me in the chat who this man is, if you can recognize this person? I'm sure you are. Any answers? He's a very famous athlete, and I have a story to share with you. No? Nobody recognizes this man? Can't see any answers. Anyway, this man is Michael Phelps. He's a German swimmer, and he is one of the greatest record man in the history of swimming. Actually, this specific photo comes from the Chinese Olympics back in 2008. In that particular Olympic Games, Michael Phelps won 6 golden medals and broke 2 world records. And so far, so good. The reason I'm posting this photo is that in this particular race, where he won this gold medal, this photo comes from the 200 meters of butterfly. Something unbelievable happens. In that particular race, Michael again broke the world record and won the golden medal. But once he dived into the pool, his goggles filled up with water since the first seconds after he dived. So he completely finished this race being totally blind. He couldn't see one single thing, and he still managed to become the winner and won the medal. And during the press conference, when people asked him, because many people realized that this happened, you know, if you are a spectator and you don't know much about swimming, nobody noticed that. But there were people like his coach and people that were really experienced in watching swimming games, that this happened. And when they asked him, how did you manage? You were completely blind. And Michael Phelps looked at them and said, it was very simple. I had a plan B. Which brings me back to what this book says. It's very good to have a wish, a positive wish. I want to be rich. I want to be famous. I want to become a better teacher. It's great when you visualize the outcome. So far, we are around the secret spectrum and Coelho spectrum, but it's also amazing. And you should also visualize the obstacle. That's the third part, and also plan a solution to solve it. Now, there is something else amazing about this book. There is research there that Mrs. Ochigian confirms that in 90% of the cases that people followed this path, visualizing the obstacle and having prepared the plan, in 90% of the cases, they managed to solve the problem. So that is why the solution to the problem in the majority of the times lies inside us. So all you have to do is simply try to think about it and have it there as a procurement, as I said in the beginning. This is, you know, the idea of the mental contrasting, and I highly recommend that you follow it. Those of you who want to practice positive psychology, is very basic, it's very fundamental. And so today, following this pattern, we will try to overcome the obstacles that lead to zest. We will start a little bit the other way around. And of course, we will try to maximize our innate zest for learning. But we will acknowledge the problem. This is one fundamental argument of this talk. I want you to imagine a class like that. And maybe you have been in a classroom like this, a classroom that everyone participates, everyone raises his hands, everyone wants to say something, everybody is full of excitement, everybody wants to contribute. However, don't tell me that you haven't even been to a class like that. That people fall asleep, students don't want to participate for a reason the lesson seems boring, and honestly, everybody's looking at his watch in order for this session to end. I would like to start with an affirmation, and I would like to tell you, as teachers and as educators, not to forget something, that these two states are non-permanent natural states. They can happen in every possible single human being. Even now, some of you, I cannot see you, you may be falling asleep because you find this presentation boring. It's totally fine with me. You may be tired. I won't be taking it personally. It has happened to me as well. And sometimes it happened to the children, but it's important for the teacher to have this mindset, to know that this is non-permanent, it comes and goes, it's momentary, and it's very natural. It can happen to everyone, to you, your mother, your kids, everyone, your spouse, everyone. And it's very interesting because there is a man who I had the luck to meet him in one of the TESOL USA conferences, Tim Murphy. And he was one of the first who was talking about positive emotions in education since 1990. Back then, we didn't have any positive psychology, but he was talking about positive emotions. And he spotted this with his students, and he identified it as the roller coaster of knowledge. And he said very, very clearly that we all have these ups and downs every time we try to learn something or we get into a process. Every day is not the same. Every day you won't have the same energy. Every day you won't have the same zest. It's good, it's fine, it's natural. And the teachers need to know that. It's very natural. There might be several roller coasters rolling at once. There might be the English one. There might be the one that refers to chemistry. There might be the one that refers to maths. There might be another activity that you want or you don't want to do. It's very personal. What you like, I may not like. And I think, this may give a lot of explanations why some students are not very motivated. Sometimes it's just a momentary thing, and there are so many other reasons why it's happening. There might be these 5 different reasons that I would like to analyze one by one. The first one has to do with lack of understanding. I mean, this is a serious thing, specifically when you teach a foreign language. And I always check this out with students and my kids as well, and the teachers that I train. Okay, you tick on the boxes, you deliver the lesson, but have they understood what you have delivered? And maybe you simply need to take a step back and check in again and again and again. What is happening? Have you understood this? Do you have any questions? Because sometimes we are rushing to finish a book, or we are rushing to do something, to finish, a lesson, but we don't realize that there might be people who don't understand what we are saying. Okay, not only semantically, but, in a various, ways regarding their cognitive abilities, and sometimes, whether we need to explain something twice, 3 times, or in a different way. Lack of understanding might be one of the reasons. The other thing might be some negative emotions that, again, they are not temporary. They might be coming from other external factors as well. But our part in the classroom, what we can possibly do is check achievement, because sometimes the negative emotion that is being created within the context of education is that when a student does not feel the progress. So that's the main reason why the Common European Framework has been drafted. And that is, again, a regular check-in that you should do with your students. Check their competence. Now can you actually communicate in English? Can you write this? Can you use this grammar tense in the proper and appropriate way? Very simple questions that it will boost their confidence. I have said many times, and I'm going to repeat it one more time. If you attend a class of any other foreign language or of any subject, and you cannot sense the project, your progress, eventually you are going to be demotivated. So all the time checking the competencies and progress, whether I have moved from number 1 to number 2 to number 3, these will multiply or at least eliminate the possibility of any negative emotions. Another good reason is fatigue. And fatigue may come again from other external factors, or there might be internal factors. And that is why when we talk a lot about brain-friendly learning, we highly recommend that either we take a break, we're going to talk about this later on, or the break might be something that will break the routine of the lesson. People need change. You cannot have the same line all the time. You cannot do that. You need to be able to experiment. You need to try this, to try that. Obviously, role play might be one of these ways, but you might have so many different ways to break the routine, break the fatigue, and add up a new, recipe or a new stimuli for them, so to move on with the lesson. Okay, so this might be role play, this might be a project, this might be presentations. Spice up your lesson with things that will break their routine, so to avoid this phenomenon. And sometimes it's, information overload, and of course, not enough time for recycling. We're going to talk about this in a moment, but what I can highly recommend is take a step back and try to check again or revise things that you feel that they haven't understood. The human brain has an infinite capacity for learning, but in order for this to happen, we need to be able to ensure understanding from everybody in the classroom. And sometimes, yes, by recycling and repeating things, this is definitely ensured in a way. And of course, specifically when those of you who teach maybe teenage classes, or even primary classes, you have a lot of competition for attention. Imagine that kids' brain and teenagers' brain is like a market. It's like an open market where you go inside and you have different distractions. You have the PlayStation, you have sports, you have girls, you have love, you have the school, you have the preparatory school, you have the hobbies. So all these make the brain of our kids very easily distracted. So we need to be able to offer in this market something that it might be really, really enticing for them. That is why, and of course, this is part of all the Express Publishing books that I've been promoting for 22 years right now, stories, animation. Here you can find all the resources for this competition for attention. Never underestimate the power of this material. It's still English language. It's still, from a different channel. And when you see that something is not working, you need to try something else. That's the exact reason and the exact mentality that I've trying to tell you since the first moment. Things may go wrong. People may not be motivated. Students might not be motivated, but we need to keep on trying things. I would say, and I read a lot of research about that, you need to make your students aware. I would highly recommend to discuss that a roller coaster exists, acknowledge that not every day is going to be the same, and do the best from your end and part to make this exciting, like a roller coaster ride all the time. You never know what to expect. And this might be one of the first steps that you can have in order to boost zest and combat any obstacle that you may find in your way. The second idea for today comes from an activity that, to tell you the truth, I invented accidentally. It was part of a process after reading a book. And I don't know if you have ever come across when specifically you assign a task like writing a composition or something that requires some generation of new ideas. You have students that come to you and say, I didn't do the task because I didn't know what to write about. Now, a good way to practice this exercise, if anybody says something like that to you from now on, you can look at him or her and say, are you a Cézanne or a Picasso? And obviously this will attract their attention. They will ask you why they will start wondering, why are you asking this question? Cézanne, Picasso, what does this have to do with my inspiration of not having anything to write? And I will give you the answer right away. It comes from this book by David Gallenson, Old Masters and Young Geniuses. And he was one of the first people who tried to define, in a way, what we call inspiration. Actually, it's not an inspiration, okay? And he defined the conceptual innovators and the experimental innovators. Now, Picasso was a conceptual innovator. A conceptual innovator is someone who has a vision, who has a moment of inspiration, who gets illuminated in a particular moment, and he creates something. Picasso painted Guernica within 3 days. Another famous story is how Keith Richards wrote Satisfaction, maybe one of the most popular songs in rock music. He saw it in his sleep. He woke up, he wrote the lyrics and the tune, he went back to bed, and when he woke up, he finished the song. People like them, like Picasso, or like these guys, like Van Gogh, Jan Vermeer, Helmut Melville, James Joyce, Orson Welles, and Sylvia Plath, they are conceptual innovators. They had a vision, they had the moment of inspiration, and they created something. So far, so good. However, we have also the experimental innovators, and the experimental innovators are people that may show us the way. Cézanne, if you go to the Cézanne Museum, somewhere I think in Holland, you will see that there are paintings that Cézanne had to paint something like 100 different drafts before he eventually came down to the final part. Alfred Hitchcock became famous in his 50s. Jason Pollock, Michelangelo, Rembrandt, Robert Frost, Virginia Woolf, they struggled with inspiration. They didn't have the vision, they never got illuminated. They have to try again and again and again and again, and they created masterpieces. And that's exactly what I want you to do with your students. When they lack inspiration, you can simply look at them and say, no matter if you're the one or the other, you are simply awesome. Because inspiration, it's not going to find you immediately. It doesn't go this way. And sometimes people think that it's a matter of inspiration to create something. No, it's a matter of thinking again about it. It's all this mental contrasting part that I was telling you before, and trying again and again and again until you have a final product. And I think that it's important that the students are conscious of this process because it's a human process. Plus, I found a new research. It's being done with STEM students. And once you share a story with a famous person's failure, this has an amazing motivation effect to your students because students are not aware about these stories. They believe that Cézanne was somebody that all the time he was waking up and he was creating masterpieces. And these stories make them realize that, you know, these are human stories. They can also be definitely and literally in their shoes. So please do share these differentiation. And there might be that you give them an extra push, an extra nudge for them, you know, to be more inspired, or if they are not inspired, to try again and again. Actually, in methodology, and when it comes down to English language teaching, this is exactly what brainstorming does. You never give up. You don't know what to write. It's totally fine. Take a piece of paper and start scribbling your ideas. Eventually, your new ideas are going to appear and show up. Allow me to drink some water. In the beginning, I told you that we are going to talk about fatigue. And it's amazing because this man, Tony Schwartz, actually he became famous for something that, okay, I don't know if somebody should be proud about it, but anyway, he was the ghostwriter for the biography of Donald Trump. That's how he became famous. However, what most people do not know is that this man runs a project which is called the Energy Project. And you can find everything on YouTube. And there is an amazing book which is called Engagement by him. And he said he says, actually, he proves and he defines that the dominant ethic for the last 200 years in humanity, specifically after the Industrial Revolution, is more plus bigger plus faster equals to better. In other words, we have convinced ourselves that if we have a lot of quantity about anything, if things are done, you know, in a big, impressive, pompous way, and if they are happening also very quickly, that everything is fine. Which actually, I'm not sure whether it's right. And if you think about it, I tried to make this connection with education. And if you think about it, this happens even in education. We have more and more qualifications that we believe that if our students have a certificate, everything is fine, that they know, that they have the skills. We have packed curriculums, which means that, you know, in shorter time, we try to cover more material, but we have never wondered why or if this can happen. We have a lot of testing that somehow promotes number one and number two and sustains number one and number two. And we also have fast-track intensive courses. Learn Japanese in 3 months, learn English in 1 month. Okay, this accelerated pace, somehow we are convinced that it serves something. Maybe you are one of these people that I'm going to refer right now. Definitely one of them is my wife. And usually we have this debate. She always says this phrase that somehow, I don't agree with that. She says, I wish I had more time and I could do more things. And this is just not true. This is just, you know, an illusion, because no matter what you do, all of us, no matter where you live, we have 24 hours in a day, 168 hours in a week, 8,736 hours in a year. This does not change for everyone. It's not about the time. And by the way, if you feel that sometimes this is the problem, there is a scientific psychological terminology for that called time gluttony by Brian Robinson. But time is not the problem. Energy is the problem. When you feel this frustration at the end of the day that you haven't achieved enough things, it's not about the time. It's about your energy. We are facing a personal energy crisis. Actually, now we're facing a personal global crisis, energy crisis, but we're also facing a personal energy crisis. And we need to manage our energy rather than our time. And we need to remember that we are not to work like computers. Computers go like this, pop, 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 pop. They have a linear way of working. We work like humans in a spiral way. We go like this, we go up. It's like the roller coaster. We cannot change that. So Mr. Schwartz actually said, and he defined the 4 different sources of energy in the human system. He talked about the physical energy, which has to do with your body. Eventually, if you try to do more than you can do, you will start having headaches. You're going to have back pains. And it's not going to be because of aging. It's going to be because your body will start sending out signals that you cannot do it. We have the spiritual energy that has to do with the greater cause and the meaning. We talked last year about the motivation. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this job? Why are you with that person? Why are you having a family? You know, you need to be able to have a meaning, your own personal meaning, which is absolutely respected. The emotional, which has to do with how does this make you feel? Because it makes you feel awful. What's the point of doing it? And of course, you have the mental energy, which has to do with your focus, whether you are able, you know, to channel all your energy to that. Now, if you add up all these energy channels, you realize that you need an internal village in order to cope up with your everyday life. And it's not easy. Take this and have it in your classes, because this is exactly what might be happening with your students. It might be too much for them, all this system. And obviously, it's not on us to change it. And there's nothing more that there are not many things that we can do in order to change it. But maybe we can actually see what we can change within the classroom and simply do what? Take a step back and say, look, let's take a rest. And this is what I would actually highly recommend. If you feel that your students cannot cope because of lack of energy, then maybe you can apply periodization, which is what the athletes do. When you are a champion, when you are a professional athlete, you are not running up and down all the time, no matter what sport you do. You are going to burn out. Professional athletes apply periodization. Periodization is when you manage the work-rest ratios. When you realize that you don't have sufficient energy, the nature has already procured you take a break. What is going to be this break? You are going to define this. It might be 10 minutes, it might be 2 days, it might be 1 week. Sometimes, if this is accumulating, it might be more, okay? And remember something, even if you finish the material, and if you do check your own boxes, the problem is going to be that the students may not have understood anything, as we said in the beginning of the slide. So what do you prepare? Finish less, but your students understand more, or finish everything, but your students understand part of it? Energy is important, is fundamental. And all I'm trying to say is we simply need to be able to save it when this is needed to happen. Sometimes we don't, we forget it. For the classroom, anything that works in a digital way, you know, I can tell you right now, and there's going to be one article of mine being published very, very soon in a certain journal. The pandemic has left and has given to teachers, through all this mess, sometimes, you know, to take a break. And even remote learning can be, in combination with face-to-face, can be something that gives oxygen to the classroom. Maybe a combination in a hybrid context can be an option for this periodization. Okay, give them a break from their routine or from things that may be draining their energy. Talking about zest and enthusiasm, I started, so to get into the next idea, I started, you know, visualizing when I was a student. And back then, as a non-native speaker, one of the biggest fears that I had, specifically in the English classroom, was to make a mistake and everybody make fun of me. Okay. Maybe this is the case as well within a language classroom. Maybe students are afraid to try to make mistakes because, I don't know, it feels embarrassing. And that's why I'm going to start this point with 2 quotations. The first one comes from the Academy by Beebe and Schellinger. Learners are sometimes stopped not only by their errors, but also by their fear of making them. So you understand that if I am afraid of making a mistake, I cannot have any enthusiasm about learning anything. So it's a factor that may create problem. And the other one comes from Ethel Barrymore, Drew Barrymore's mother. You grow up the day you have your first real laugh at yourself. And she actually confessed that many times, right there on stage, she has made so many different mistakes that she actually learned from them. And I would say, change the mindset of your class regarding mistakes. You also need some kind of intervention from your end. The first thing I would do when I started reading about this is make sure that I change the mindset regarding mistakes. And I would say, value your mistakes. That is why I made all these mistakes up there. So to show you that there is not the end of the world. Change the meaning of the mistakes, which means that you stand in front of the people and say, look, everybody of your students, everybody makes mistakes. I make mistakes. In my classroom, mistakes are allowed. Another technique, laugh at your mistakes. It might be a very good joke or a slip of a tongue. If you do it and everybody's laughing, there is nothing wrong. We move on, but we remember. It's a very good memory technique, so not to repeat it. Another good technique is to make small mistakes on purpose because you have full control of them and you are very conscious about it. If you make small mistakes, this means that you know what the right answer also is. So there is practically no mistake. You have full control of it. So there is no possibility that this will compel you or overwhelm you. And of course, when it comes down to language teaching, we also have the myth of complete sentences. Before I started speaking Spanish seriously, I was always visualizing myself like I was trying to say long sentences in Spanish because I thought that in this way, people will not understand or will not realize that I'm a beginner. However, this cannot happen no matter which foreign language you learn, because it's a matter of the memory. You have the big memory tank where you can actually mention the essential words you need to exchange messages. And think, even in your own language, in Spanish, this is statistically proved. Linguists estimate that of everyday native speech, more than 50% is just fragments, not pieces of sentences, which means that sometimes we need to allow some space and need them to realize that, to make them realize that communication sometimes may not happen with a full sentence. So they have this perception or mentality that a full long sentence will make them boast or make them show that they know. However, when they try to move this long sentence from the big memory tank to the short memory tank, then bang, overload. Our shortened memory explodes because we just hold it long enough to put it in the long-term memory. So when it comes down to sentences, I would say, keep it simple, go for it, risk a little, and above all, like this. This can be some of the ways when you teach a foreign language. And why I'm saying this? Because when you remember, you become efficient, you remember more language. When you are efficient, you feel confident, and confidence generates zest. Sometimes it all comes from memory. How you can remember your memory? You can reformulate and recycle frequently, add novelty. You can see some of the objective of the exercises here from Express Publishing books. This comes from our new teenagers book called #English, which highly recommended. It's full of fun activities, and it always changes this scenario that you have here, content full of meaning, sparkling the episodic memory, tell the class summary of the episode. I love this activity. I love this activity. And I haven't seen in other books apart from Express Publishing, when you have a text, when you have a story, always ask them to give the summary of this particular story. Storytelling, that is why it's so powerful. It sparks the episodic memory. So when you make this connection between the different items, this is when you might remember it easier. The next idea comes from Dostoevsky, and this is really, really amazing, because back in 1863, and in this particular book, which was simply a travel journal, just right there, he asked his readers to do exactly that. Try to think, I'm sorry, because I need to, try to pose for yourself this task, not to think of a polar bear. And you will see that the cursed thing will come to mind every single minute. In 1863, this phrase was in a Russian book. Nobody paid attention to it. But if you try to do this test, you will see that the polar bear will keep on coming. And it was amazing because at least 300 years after that, almost 200 years, Daniel Wegner, he's a psychologist, he's a doctor, of course, and PhD holder. And he manages to speak about psychology in a very simple way. And he talked about the intentional operating process versus the ironic monitoring process. Practically, he said that every time we have a positive thought or we want to do something, our brain automatically creates the negative one. And it was a great revelation because he practically proved that this is something really normal. And I think we all should know about this idea that our brain has this mentality, and this has been confirmed by neuroscience. There is another amazing book by Rick Hanson, Hardwiring Happiness. He called it the Velcro effect. He actually says that our brain, since the Serengeti period, when the prehistoric man Back that time, you would either go in the jungle to find food, or you would become food yourself. So he said that just because of all of these threats, we have created this built-in negativity bias. So chances are that we feel that things will go wrong more often than they will go right. And he called this the Velcro effect. And more psychologists talked about the junk thoughts. Actually, there is this Jill Anderson, who talks a lot about education in the 80s. She actually defined overgeneralizing, when you make generalizations about things, catastrophizing, awfulizing, coping out, demanding. It's not good to, get up every day and demand, I should go here or I should go there. Start with a less demanding phrase, because this compels you to do it. So bottom line, us and our students will have these thoughts coming to them. I'm shy. Everybody else is better. I want to be perfect. Leads to discouragement. I'm not a top dog anymore. And I would highly recommend here the idea of group dynamics that can eliminate false beliefs. All these negative thoughts are thoughts that may come to you, may pay a visit to your mind or brain or your student's brain. If you prepare them and say that they're going to come, then things might be easier. Or if you simply let the group do the job for you, these false beliefs can be eliminated. When do these false beliefs come? When I'm alone, when I'm spending a lot of time of loneliness. It's not accidental that after the pandemic, all the psychologists and the specialists went out and said to people, go out and connect, talk about the problem, collaborate, let the power of the team heal these processes. When you realize that you are not alone, things are much easier in every possible context. It's not accidental that collaboration has become one of the major soft skills right now. It's what people and your students need out there. We need connection. We need interaction all the time. And of course, any kind of collaboration activity that leads towards this way is more than welcome, collaborating in groups. And of course, never punish students for their adaptive responses. There might be causes that the students are sending you signals. It's what Seligman called the father of positive psychology, learned helplessness versus learned optimism. Okay, try to cultivate hope and try to help all the time when you see a student that he is struggling. He may be sending you a signal. Do not make this as a punishment just because he's different from the rest of the class, or he may not be attentive. He may be sending you a signal. Make optimism something that, it can be taught in the classroom. And the last model that I would like to share with you comes from Tim Murphy. And this is something that I'm sure you can actually take it and apply it tomorrow in your classes. The SPUR model. Make it as specific as possible. Make it as concrete as possible and divide it into chunks. Make it personal. Our brain loves what is real and personal, what is channeled through us. Use it a lot of activation, specifically the language. It's all about communication, my friends. Nobody comes to your class simply to know the uses of the present perfect. You need to be able to speak it, to use it, to activate it. Repeat it a lot if needed, recycle it a lot. And these can actually be ways that they can give an extra push, an extra nudge every time your students are stuck. Ask your students to take or retake control of their own learning. Ask them to be proactive students. And we are all natural learning machines. I would say all these virtues, one more time, all these strengths are inside you. And as for the last clip, if you don't believe what I say after all these resources, I have a clip that may convince you from another master, another sensei.
Mr. Miyagi, it's over. It's over. Forget about it. No. I'm afraid. Let's just get out of here. I want to go home.
Cannot, must not. It's okay, lose to opponent. Must not lose to fear.
Yo, I'm afraid. I'm afraid of him, all right? What do I do?
focas. Then le salió un pescarati still inside. Now time let out.
The best of the zest is still inside you. Time to let out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, dear George, and you inspired us, really, yes, with this great talk. Yes,
Thank you.
are totally true, because we must consider the signals in our students. We must be alert, yes, with everything about them. And it's important for all the teachers, this kind of talks, because it's good for us to remember what we have inside us. Yes,
Absolutely.
it's very important. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
dear
much for
George.
having me here.
And
Thank you. Enjoy the
and-
rest of the conference.
Thank you. We invite you, George, because we have some greetings for you for Express Publishing from our users. Yes, please
Right.
wait. We have some
Absolutely.
interesting videos for you.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes.
Thank you. And some greetings for Nutesa'S also.
Yes.
I Wonder is an innovative program that develops interdisciplinary learning. It focuses on 21st century skills using real-world experiences. As a teacher, it has been a great experience using I Wonder book series because of the different activities of listening, speaking, reading, and writing that guide the students to develop the 4 skills. Finally, I would like to mention the projects. They are fascinating for me and for the students. They are learning in a playful way and with dynamic situations.
Peace and good. Let me introduce myself. My name is Sandra and I'm a teacher at Cristo Salvador School. My students are teenagers from secondary level. It's been 5 years now since the very first time we started using on-screen series. As a team, we all were incredibly amazed by the resources, structures, and contents from the student book, as well as from the workbook. It works for our different scaffolding levels, providing lots of alternatives to our pedagogical practice, full of funny and topical issues, but on teenagers' preferences. It is a must-try series. What are you waiting for?
Hello there, I'm Daniel Morris, and on behalf of Express Publishing, I would like to wish you a very happy 80th anniversary for all of you at Nutesa. I have had the pleasure of working with Nutesa very closely for the last 3 years. During that time, I've been able to meet some truly wonderful, amazing people. We talk on a daily basis almost. It's almost as if we're family in some kind of strange way. And it always brings a smile to my face to see your wonderful faces whenever we have a presentation or a webinar. And of course, Nutesa has been working with Express Publishing now for many years, and this is a collaboration that we cherish here at Express Publishing, and it's a collaboration that we hope to continue for many, many years. So please enjoy today. We are sending you all of our love and best wishes from Athens, Greece, and we really hope to see you very soon, hopefully in person sometime. So take lots of care, and it's a goodbye from me.
Happy anniversary, Nutesa. A huge well done to you celebrating your 80 years. We at Customized Training Services are incredibly happy for you and appreciate the affection and support you show us. Liliana and I wish you good fortunes in your next experiences and look forward to many more years of fruitful collaboration and friendship. Congrats and all the best.
En Nutesa estamos comprometidos a llevar educación a todos los estudiantes peruanos. Por ello seguimos trabajando, adaptándonos a la era digital, brindando así de acorde a las necesidades de hoy, porque el aprendizaje no se detiene. Nos encontramos en Lima, Arequipa, Cajamarca, Piura, Chiclayo, Trujillo, Ica, Tarapoto, Huánuco, Huancayo, Ayacucho, Cusco, Moquegua y Tacna. Una sola empresa con 80 años de experiencia en el área de educación y que llega a todos los segmentos con recursos educativos multinivel y en diferentes idiomas publicados por las mejores editoriales del mundo. Express Publishing, con más de 3.500 títulos publicados presente en más de 90 países, nos ofrece soluciones educativas basadas en el desarrollo del pensamiento crítico y resolución de problemas, todo ello en forma digital, además de contar con material dirigido a carreras profesionales como Derecho, Negocios, Enfermería, entre otros. National Geographic Learning, la editorial que lleva el mundo al aula y el aula a la vida de los estudiantes. Sus series permiten el aprendizaje por experiencias y desarrollan habilidades para ser ciudadanos globales exitosos. eFuture, editorial innovadora con productos que se adaptan a nuestros estudiantes, especialistas en desarrollar contenidos basados en las competencias del siglo XXI. Ellie Publishing, editorial con un gran respaldo en el mundo de las editoriales. Es líder en publicaciones no solamente para el aprendizaje del inglés, sino de otros idiomas también, conocida por su contenido creativo. Prime Press es una editorial educativa internacional con sede en Atenas, Grecia, que se expande a nivel mundial a través de oficinas en varios países con la misión de crear contenido de calidad y servir al mundo educativo con mejores planes de estudios en inglés, árabe y francés. A-List Learning es líder en Asia en publicaciones especializadas para el aprendizaje de niños en inicial y primaria, y su material está basado en la metodología educativa del lenguaje sólido. McGraw-Hill, con la misión de lograr experiencias intuitivas y atractivas para los estudiantes, esta editorial ha desarrollado sus series a partir de la investigación. Nos presenta sus programas de inglés y el innovador sistema de aprendizaje de las matemáticas, Alex, el cual tiene inteligencia artificial. Editora Positivo, especialistas en publicaciones para el aprendizaje del idioma portugués, fundado en 1972 en la ciudad de Curitiba, en Brasil. El Grupo Positivo es hoy la más grande corporación educacional de Brasil, actuando con liderazgo en 3 grandes segmentos: editorial, universidad e informática. Nutesa no solo es una empresa, no es solo la enseñanza o el sentimiento de un libro, la fuerza de un perforador o la elegancia de una agenda. Nutesa somos todos. Nos acompañaste 80 años y hoy te acompañamos a ti. Gracias, Perú. Síguenos en nuestras redes y entérate de nuestros próximos eventos mediante Facebook, YouTube, Instagram y LinkedIn.
Let's learn and play. Zach, Dan, hello, 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 and how are you?
I wonder. Are there banana slides? Why do cows like listening to music? Can potatoes grow in space? What fruit do mosquitoes like? No need to wonder anymore. The answer to your questions is I wonder. 21st century skills. Catchy songs. Projects. Public speaking. Wonder tales. A world of wonder. And a wonderful digi world. Rolo's AR app. And the DigiBooks platform. Wonder is the beginning of wisdom.
Hey, I'm Rolo. Let's scan the I Wonder book together and fill in all the surprises. Potato, apple, orange, onion, banana, pear.
Okay, so again, George, thank you very much for your participation. You're always with us, and so we really appreciate your help, your support, and everything you are sharing with us, and teachers, of course, as you could see. Thank you, George.
Thanks to you. The pleasure has all been mine. Congratulations again for the 80 years, and cheers to everyone.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
the rest of the conference.
Okay, thank you so much. Goodbye, George.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Yes. Okay, and we continue. What else we have? Here we have Rob. Rob, you are with us now. Rob Howard. Yes, hello, Rob.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Patricia from the academic department from Nutesa.
Hello.
Welcome you, right? Welcome.
Nice to
Let's
meet you.
see. Nice to meet you. Let's see, Benji, show us what is next. Here we have this topic, engaging students for improving business conversation skills. And who is going to be in charge of this talk? Let's see. We have Rob Howard. He's the owner of Online Language Center and Business Language Training Institute. He's a teacher, writer, and frequent worldwide speaker and trainer on business English, teacher development, entrepreneurship, teaching online, and using technology and images. He's joint coordinator of the IATEFL BC Gallery Teachers Masterclass Presenter and ITDI TOEFL course trainer, member of the C Group, online event coordinator for the Visual Arts Circle, as well as co-founder of the Independent Authors and Publishers. Rob is also the creator of EFL Talks, Teachers Teaching Teachers, nominated for the 2016 British Council's, I cannot see, sorry, because of the comments in the chat box, Elton Award for Innovation in Teacher Resources. So nothing else to say. Rob, thank you again for being with us, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. Actually, I have one more thing to add because it just happened yesterday. I'm here at a conference for IATEFL Poland, where yesterday I was just elected vice president.
Oh, congratulations. Nice. Excellent.
So nice.
Pleasure to have you.
Congrats, Rob.
Thank you. Everybody come to Poland for next year.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh. Okay, we take your word.
Don't say that, please. We'll take your words.
Great. Very good. Well, it's so nice to be here, and I'm going to ask you a few questions, so I don't want you to be shy. And we're going to talk about engaging students. Now, you heard a little bit about me and what I do. First, I want to learn a little bit about you. Just give me either a a Y or an N in the chat room for a yes or a no. You know, do you teach one-to-one or groups? One-to-one, or give me a 1 or a G in this case. Let me know you're alive and listening. An L. Okay, I assume that's a 1. So one-on-one or groups. Don't be shy. Groups, okay, Lords. All right. Maybe you'll answer the next. Both. Okay, great. This is good to know. Oh, good. Here comes all the comments. Groups occasionally 1. Nice. Okay, good. Next question. Do you teach face-to-face or online? Give me an F or an O or a both. Okay. Good. Great. Good. So we have a nice diverse group here. Do you teach older teens? Yes or no? I will accept an S for a C. Yes. Okay, good. Yes, good. Do you teach adults? Nice. Sometimes. Good. Lots of yeses. So a no. Okay. Do you teach at a university? Yes or a no? This gives me a nice idea of who I'm talking to. Okay. And do you teach business English? A yes or a no? Aha, sometimes. Ooh, I got a yes. Okay. ESP, very good. Lawrence. Yeah. Adults. Okay, great. Very good. Okay, so my context, just to give you a little background about what I teach. I used to teach teenagers, and this was in a course when I was back in Brazil. And now strictly online, I teach face-to-face, and I work with adults teaching business English. Since I've been involved with the BSIG for years, my specialty is dealing with business English. And the new specialty that I'm looking to go into a little bit more next year is teaching business English to teenagers. Because remember, the teens are our future. And this is something that, stay tuned for future talks if they have me back, remember. So for those of you, and there were many of you, it seems, that are not teaching business English, why not? I'm just curious. Just a quick short answer in the chat room. Why don't you teach business English? Could be one word, could be fear, could be not your job, could be whatever. Okay. All right. Well, what we're going to talk about is what's changing in the world. Now, I've been teaching for a long time. I'm sure some of you have. I'm looking at Patricia and Lourdes. I can't see everybody, but I can tell you guys are in your early 20s, so you haven't been teaching very long. Not like me, I'm in my hundreds. But 57%. Now, this is an important number. 57% I just updated this the other day. Any idea what 57% stands for? And no, it's not how old I am. Give you a few seconds to type. Okay, well, here's the answer. Oops. 57%. Yep, very good. Lords, you're cheating. Were you looking at my thing beforehand?
Yes, I watched your presentation before, I think.
Aha. See, but that's smart. You get the right answers then. 57% of all the internet content now is in English. Now that's an awful lot. I don't know what the figures are for Spanish. I was looking for that figure, but there really isn't one. But you figure with the remaining, what, 43%, there's a lot of other languages. Spanish is probably relatively low. I would guess somewhere around the 20s, 20, 25%, but 57% in English, 87%. What's this? I'm not going to ask Lords because she cheated and knows the answer, but 87% of global business takes place now in English. Now, that means that people are using English, whether it be their first, second, third language, to do business all around the world. For instance, I don't know any companies offhand in Peru that I can think of, but they may be dealing with China. They may be dealing with India. They could be dealing with Brazil. So unless they're speaking Portuguese, probably they're using English to do negotiations. And 95%, what do you think this one is? Lords, don't give it away. All right, you can say it now, Lords. They had their chance.
I really don't know now.
Yay, we stumped her. Okay, you
I don't
lose.
know, really.
Well, 95% of current non-native business people feel that their English is good enough. Do you think this is true? It's not, because it's actually the opposite. 95% feel that their English is not good enough. And this is bad with all the business that's taking place throughout the world. Now, this is what I work with, is business communications, whether it be differences in culture, differences in the L1 language that people are working with. And there's a major problem with the confidence level of people today. Now, during COVID times, when everybody was online, people were a little bit more at ease. For instance, Lords isn't afraid that I'm going to reach out and hit her for getting the wrong answer. She doesn't feel threatened by me because I'm thousands of miles away. So online really helped to build up a little confidence with a lot of our learners. But now we're back in the classroom. And what happened after 2 years of not talking to people face to face? Suddenly people are thrown back into this and they don't have confidence anymore. And this has become a major problem. And this is what we're going to talk about today. So the learner, when we talk about the normal learner, most of them are still mastering general English. They're still trying to get maybe from B2 to C1, from C1 to C2. But what they're finding is when it comes to business English, they lack the vocabulary that they need specifically to do negotiations and to talk to people. And this is very easy to rectify, but teachers don't have the ability to know what students need for vocabulary unless they've actually done that job. Because we're talking about business English now. We're not talking about, I'm going to the corner store with Sally to go shopping. You know, that's easy to come up with vocabulary. But in business English, every job, every position, every country, every product or service has specific vocabulary. And who knows what that is? The student. Very easy. Have the students write down in, I assume for most of you, it's Spanish. Have them write down the words that they constantly use for their job in Spanish, and make sure that they can translate these easily to English. I do this all the time with my students all over the world, and I'm not trying to make them change or come up with a different voice. I'm taking advantage of the voice they already have. So we're taking their high level of Spanish, business English, their ability to negotiate because they got the job. They obviously know what they're doing. They're obviously smart, but it's their English that isn't up to the level. So in order to get to that level, let's help them build vocabulary. And most of the people that come to me are lacking confidence, as I said before. And when you have teachers that really aren't familiar with teaching business English, one of the main problems is they don't know how to set business objectives for learning with their student. So this is an important thing that I feel you should learn in order to get ahead. Now, a lot of this is because of a lot of what happens in the classroom. Some books come up with irrelevant content. So for example, I'm a man. I open up a business English book and here is a chapter about makeup for women. It's totally irrelevant for me. I'm not going to learn. Why should I learn the vocabulary when I'm not going to use it? So we have to make sure that the context is appropriate to the person doing the job. Sometimes we have very tedious topics, which means that course books probably weren't written in a nice fluid way, so it makes it easy for people to work with. And sometimes it can be totally impersonal. The approach just doesn't keep the student's need in mind. So remember, they got the job already. They were hired. They're experts in their fields in most cases. They can speak about business. But the new thing we're finding is once they have the vocabulary, they're okay. But where they lack confidence is small talk. And surprisingly, when you try and carry on a conversation outside of the business realm, students tend to fall flat with small talk. Now remember, we've taught them general English, so they already know general English. They know the vocabulary and the words they need for small talk, yet they're not aware of how they can better use it. So what we want to do is we're going to practice a mixture of business and small talk. Now, what this will do is we're going to strengthen their vocabulary and confidence in dealing with business English. But what we'll also do is we'll take advantage of small talk to work on grammar, to work on confidence building. Maybe it's pronunciation, Maybe it's accent reduction. And when we mix the two of these, this takes a lot of pressure off because business happens between people. People buy from other people. They don't buy from companies. When I'm talking very expensive products, I was in sales for years. I dealt with $1 million contracts. People were buying me and what I gave them as a supplier for the company, not necessarily the product. So we need to help them be able to make this switch between business and small talk. So in order to do that, we need new rules of engagement. And number one, we have to keep them interested. We need to keep them focused. We need to keep them attentive in class. And we need to keep them working on the task constantly. So this is how we're going to engage students. And how can we do that? We talked about it before. Give them relative content. Give them something of interest, something that's meaningful to them. We want to try and keep them entertained and having fun. Business English does not have to be boring. We need to keep them relaxed. This will help with building confidence, and it will help to stimulate learning. And we need to keep them gratified. They need to know that they are improving and they're doing better every day. So we want them rewarded. We want them happy. And of course, we want them learning and advancing. That's our goal as teachers. So we're trying to help them reach their goals. And they need a clear idea of what their goals are. Again, we want them to use their voice, not a voice that we've made up for them. They need to be able to voice their opinions. And they need to be able to listen to other people's opinions, because opinions will differ. It doesn't have to be an argument. It can be a discussion. But we need to teach them the rules for this and work on general communication. Now, how can we do this? First of all, I've heard over the years, I've taught many years in Brazil. I teach now in Europe, and I go to conferences all over the world. And one thing I'm constantly hearing from a lot of teachers is, no, you shouldn't get friendly with your students. You're not their friend, you're their teacher. Don't build a relationship. It's none of their business. I think this is a lost opportunity, because I would love to know everything there is about Lourdes so I can help relate to her, so I can teach her and keep her more engaged. Now, I'm looking here at Sarah. Sarah's got a library in the background. Sarah loves books. Hi, Sarah. Did you know that I write books? You see the one on the third shelf down to the right? I wrote that book.
Really, I didn't know that.
Really, I'm not telling the truth. My lips are moving.
Okay. Thank you
But
so
you
much.
Thank you. But this is the thing. I feel to be successful in any kind of teaching, especially in business English, is to open up yourself. Now, we probably, when you took education classes, you probably heard about modeling. Now, I don't mean, working on the platform and wearing nice clothes. I'm talking about giving examples to your students before. And I find that in a lot of classes that I go to, teachers aren't using modeling anymore. It's because they're afraid to reveal themselves and to open up and show a little bit about themselves. I'm constantly talking about me because this puts you at ease. Now you feel like you know me a little bit. I've opened up and told you things about me. It makes it much easier for you to tell me about you. Lord, what's your favorite pizza?
Pepperoni.
Pepperoni. Mine too.
Yeah.
Oh, we have something in common. Did you
I love
ever like put onions or mushrooms on it and then say, "Ugh, it was better with just pepperoni"?
Well, I tried once, but well, I didn't like it. I
Yeah, either
preferred
did
only
I.
pepperoni.
Yeah, pepperoni by itself. You see, now we're open. We're revealing about ourselves. We're having a real conversation about something that means something to me and something that means something to her. Whereas, Patricia, I'm going to pick on you. Patricia, have you ever gone horseback riding?
No, never, never. I feel really afraid of that.
That's too bad. I love riding horses. Blah, 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 blah. You see, there's no engagement. You know, it's just statements.
Right.
And we do this a lot as teachers. We ask questions and we don't really care about what you're talking about. Now, with modeling, if I open up, then it's interesting to the other party. And this is the same whether you're working with one-on-one or working with groups. Get them to open up and ease the tension. This helps to foster a community within your classroom. And when you foster a community, students are much more patient with each other. They're much more helpful with each other. For instance, if Lord couldn't think of the word for mushrooms, she's like, oh, champion, I don't know what it is in Spanish, you know, and she can't think of the right word, somebody in the group is going to come out and help her.
Champiñones.
Ah,
Yeah.
thank you very much. Gracias. But
Okay, nada.
somebody in the group, like Lord's just helped me with the word. She feels comfortable correcting me, and I want her to feel comfortable. That's the whole idea of what we want to do by fostering community. And we have to do this even in a one-on-one class. So I know everything about my students' lives, sometimes too much. They know everything about mine. But you know what? We found that we can relate with each other in different ways. So this was one of my classes for 2 years. They were all strangers from different departments when they started. And when they left, we were all best buds. I still talk to them. And this is from almost 10 years ago. So here's some quotes. This is from a friend of mine, Fluency MC. And really, I believe in this, that the key is having fun when you're learning. And if you're familiar with Fluency MC, he does rap. So I think it's important to get to know them and use their lives. For instance, Patricia, do you have children?
I have one 25-year-old daughter.
How did you have a daughter when you were 2 years old?
Oh, oh, thank you.
That's mathematically impossible.
Impossible, right?
Well, I'm in the same boat. I have a 36-year-old son, and I'm only 32. Twice. So it's getting to know them. And for instance, if I'm talking about negotiation skills and I'm working on a negotiation between two people, what I'm going to do is, Patricia, remember those times when you were telling your daughter she couldn't wear that outfit outside, but if she put on some less revealing clothes, you would let her go to the movies with her friends? Do you remember those times?
Yeah, I remember. I remember. And the
Yes.
answer of my daughter was like, well, Mom, always you, the same things again and again and again, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah. And you see, because I know Patricia so well, and I know what's important to her, hopefully her daughter is important to her still, I can use that to relate. So that negotiation that you did, you offered her one thing if she gave in on another. Now, that's just like if you're negotiating with lords, you want lords to do all that extra work that needs to be done for the weekend. And next week, you'll help her out a little bit with her work. There's the negotiation. So it's relating it contextually to something that the student already knows. But I don't know what the student knows unless I know the student. See what I mean? Good. So I think if you expect a student to open up and share of themselves, you have to be ready to open up and share of yourself and model that. And plus, it'll build a great friendship. And from a business point of view, it's a great idea because you keep your students forever. Okay. So what we want to do, tell stories. I tell them stories about me all the time. This lets them understand a little bit more about me, how to put together a story. And it tells them maybe a little bit about my culture. Now, I'm an American. I was born in North America. I moved to Brazil. I lived there for 16 years. So I spent the quarter of my life there. And now I live in Europe. I live in Poland for 6 years. So I've learned a little bit about the different cultures in all these areas, but I don't know the culture in Peru. How do I find out? I'm going to ask Sarah to tell me a little bit about, not now, but I'll ask Sarah to write a book and tell me about Peru and what goes on there. So this is how we share culture. And don't be afraid. People need to brag. I have the smartest son in the United States because he was once in the who's who of computer programmers. I'm bragging. Exaggerate. These are skills that people need when they're small talking. You know, we all do it in Spanish, I'm sure. Right? We're always bragging and exaggerating. We need to practice it in English too. It's just as important. Here's another quote. I've got lots of quotes. How do they know what we want from them unless we show them? Okay, so modeling. Now, one thing I love to do is argue. Lords, I see here that you're an academic something or other. Actually, here it says academic con. That means you're a con artist in academic?
No, it's academic consultant.
Oh, okay.
It's like Patricia, we are a team with Benji. We are 3 academic consultants from Nutesa. We are in Lima
Well,
and Benji in Arequipa.
actually, Benji must do all the work because you two are just women. You probably can't do much. So I'm sure
What?
Benji.
Patricia will tell you.
Please, what are you saying? Nothing. No, it's the opposite. Benji's not doing anything. We are doing
Come
everything.
on. Isn't that
He's a
just like a
man.
woman?
The
Benji,
thing
please
is that they
say
are
something.
the bosses. They are the bosses.
Yeah.
They have to follow her instruction or their instructions.
Oh.
That's how it works here in Peru.
Yeah. Okay.
Women words are the last words. No more.
No, I've been married twice. I know that men have the last word. It's always yes, dear.
Yes, dear.
Yes.
Now you see what I'm doing. I'm playing around here. But what
Yeah.
I'm doing is I'm forcing a little bit of an argument. Because think about it. If any of you are married or you're in a relationship, whatever kind, you know the first thing that happens when you start an argument is the brain shuts off and the mouth keeps moving. This is the best time to practice English. Because think of those students, you know, those ones that I'm thinking about every word. and they don't have this fluid talk. But when you say, hey, women are stupid and only men can do it, do you think I really believe that? Exactly. But Patricia, the first thing is your brain shut off and your mouth started and your true English actually came out, where you weren't thinking about what's the grammar? What do I use first? Where does the preposition go? This is great. And you got to be careful. Make sure your students realize you're just having a fun fight with them. But, you know, disagreeing, debating, fighting, this happens in life all the time. But most teachers say, oh, no, that's scary. People may hit each other, blah, blah, blah. But it's when the true language comes out. And it's really a powerful tool. So use it wisely, but use it. And ladies, I apologize. I know you two do all the work and he's just sitting there at the beach, isn't he? Right? Good. Okay. So different people have opinions and it's okay to respect all of them. Here's a nice quote if you're into whatever, this TV star. So we need to learn also to how to accept others' opinions, how to argue with others' opinions in a civilized way. So we don't want people punching each other. We want them to beat each other up with words. We want them to talk with words. So we need to practice it. It's just as important as talking nicely. Another thing that I think is important to do is we need to mix activities more. Now, if you notice in course books, they've been doing this for years. They're designed this way that they mix activities. But I think one of the problems is when people put away the course book, sometimes they forget to mix these things up. I'm not saying put away the course book all the time. I'm saying you can use it. They're great tools, but there's also some real life things that we can do. I use my book as a tool. It's a starting point, and it's something where students can work at home with. So books are great. Don't get me wrong. But mix up the activities just like the course books do. You know, they have geniuses who have been writing these things for years, and they figured out the best way for people to learn. Learn from them. Okay. So you want to change the activities often. You want to keep them dynamic, and you also want to keep them guessing. Like Lourdes has no idea that I'm about to show pictures of her when she was a baby and let everybody make comments about it so we can put it up on Instagram and Facebook, right? Be spontaneous, scare her, do anything. I'm kidding, I don't have those. Okay, so bringing real stuff to the class, bringing real things that happen, especially in business, new things happen every day. I can't remember the last time I actually prepared a class because my students always come in and when you say what's new, they have a new problem because they're business people. So what better way? Well, oh no, I don't want to hear about your problem with the negotiation. I'm going to open up to page 5 and we're going to talk about shopping today. That's a lost opportunity because this is where context is key. It's important to them. We should help them. So as a teacher, we need to be ready for anything because anything can happen any minute. Any new subject can come up. And, you know, I know a lot of stuff, but I don't know a lot. I don't know everything. I have Google, I can check. I can find out new words. I learn many words from my students. They teach me. I teach lawyers. I know a lot of legal terms now that I never knew before. I work with IT people. I've learned things that I don't want to know about coding, but you learn from your students. And this is by being ready for anything. And don't be afraid of controversy. because you know what? It's the reality in life. And they need to use this to communicate. And here's that dynamic poet, Eminem. Everybody needs a little controversy in their life. And I remember when I first started teaching in Brazil, you guys may be familiar with parsnips, the things that they say not to talk about in class. It's like politics, narcotics. I can't even remember them all. But as soon as they told me, don't talk about these subjects in class, those are the first subjects I talked about, because those are the things that are real. And controversy is good, because controversy is going to happen. And they need, as a student, to be ready for it. So, looking for realistic situations. And I told you, I do use course books. And this is kind of funny because I do use this course book. But here they have different conversations. It's realistic situations that actually happen. Here's another section from that chapter, useful phrases that people will use for small talk. Did you see the football match last night? Not everybody likes football, blah, 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 and goes on and on. And then there's practice, but it's focused practice. And this is what we want them to do, focus on their meaningful practice that's related to their work and that's in context. Now, this book is written by Ian Badger, who's a very good friend of mine. And it seems it's a commercial talk. No, it isn't. But I actually do have this book. Here's my copy. And I do use this. And Ian did a great job with this book, and I really find it useful. There's a lot in here for ESP series, so I recommend it. I hope you have tons of it on the shelf there. If not, you should get them. Buy thousands, because everybody listening should buy 10 copies each. Ian told me that when his sales goes up, he's going to buy me a beer. Okay, so help me get a beer. But I like to use the shampoo method, and I talked a lot about practice. And for those of you who've never heard of the shampoo method, I call it's wash, rinse, and repeat. Wash your hair, rinse it out, and repeat it again. We need to do this. We don't do enough proper focused practice. And years ago, I think teachers came out and they gave drilling. Remember drilling? They gave drilling a bad name. But you know what? I'm a professional musician. When I was a little kid, I used to sit there for 3 hours every day practicing scales. I played hockey. Every warm-up was 100 slap shots on goal. Michael Jordan, obviously a great basketball player, used to sit there and take thousands of shots. You need to practice to improve. And that happens with language too. So don't be afraid to go back and say, okay, 2 weeks ago, we talked about this. Let's talk about it again and see how much you remember. See how much of the language stuck with you. See how other words we could look for to bring into the conversation. So it's spaced repetition. This is something that if you look at any course book, you'll see this, that you might cover something in one chapter and then 2 chapters later, you'll see it again. The idea is putting a little space between it and then coming back to it for practice will put it into long-term memory and consolidate it. So wash, rinse, and repeat. Now, the comfort zone. Everybody's always talking about the comfort zone. Should he be in the comfort zone? Should he be out of the comfort zone? Should he think outside the box? Whatever. Well, for the comfort zone, it's a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. This is a great quote. Nothing ever grows in the comfort zone. So if you're looking to improve on things, need I say more? And here's another great quote from some famous guy. I believe in this. Our job is to help learners be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. That's our job as business English teachers and teachers in general. We need to help them feel comfortable when everybody else is panicking. How do we do that? With language, with practice. So, do we want them engaged or disengaged? I just had to use this picture. I always liked it. So with that, I'm done talking, and now it's your turn. I don't know, Patricia Lloyd, if you want to talk about anything on this page first before we stop sharing.
Yeah, well, thank you. Just telling you, thank you so much, Rob. It was a wonderful session. You really make us think about all the fears we can have when we use the language. And the most important one, we have to transmit this to our students, right? So we have to transmit security. Okay, they have to know that we are really prepared and that they can feel comfortable. And this last quote from that famous speaker that we have now, that is our job, is to help learners be comfortable in uncomfortable situations, right? And this is for our whole lives. For our lives, we have to be thinking about this.
I want everybody to take a screenshot, post this on social media, make sure you put my name. I want to become famous with this one. If I do, I'll come to Peru and I'll buy you all a drink.
Or if we go to Poland as you invited us, so
yes, I'll get the vodka for you guys.
Okay, thank you so much, Rob. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here in our convention, right?
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Yes, a pleasure for us.
Any questions or any comments or?
Well, the comments that we have, and we are reading, they're like wonderful comments. You have some questions, Lou?
Okay, here it says, the best to learn English is to practice all the time that we can do it, it says Teacher Victor.
Yes.
And the fact you release the pressure, it will be fantastic.
Right. All the comments are like that. Right.
You're right. Argument generates debates, and that leads to a speaking, says Shirley.
Right.
Yes. All of the comments are for this.
So these are the words from our teachers here in Peru. Okay, telling you, thank you so much, Rob.
Thank you for challenging us.
Yes, we are inviting you because since you are representing, right, what it's Ellie Publishing, we have some words from one teacher working with books from Ellie Publishing, and of course some greetings from our teachers, because you know that we are celebrating our 80th anniversary. Right?
And happy anniversary.
Thank you.
You know,
so let's see.
Before I go, I would just like to say one last thing. Benji, do some work. The girls are overworked.
I try.
But you know, 2 against 1, impossible, I guess.
Oh, I don't care. It could be 5 guys against 1 woman and woman.
I need reinforcements from Poland.
Thank you so much, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you. So let's watch the video, right?
Yes.
So Rob can see it. Rob can see it. Rob can watch it.
Yes. Don't go, Rob.
Hello, everyone. Well, today I'm going to talk about why I choose Flash an English book. Well, I choose Flash an English book for several reasons. One of them is a motivating and easy to use book. Well, Flash an English encourages fluency and self-confidence. The book provides through grammar, vocabulary, and skills worked through content interested for teenagers. In addition to that, It has a friendly platform where students can carry out their activities in real time with the teacher. I want to say one more thing. If you are interested in assessing your students for the international exam, it could be CAT, PET, FC. Those books will be a great support for them. Well, I would like to say thank you so much and see you then. Bye-bye.
Hola, buenos días. My name is Vittorio D'Aversa of ELI. I'm very happy to be here today to salute and celebrate Nutesa'S 80 year of activity. So the 80th anniversary, this is quite an accomplishment for any company. On behalf of the whole ELI staff, from Michele Casali to my colleagues Andrea Piggini, Valentina Guardabassi, Silvia Petrosillo, I would like to thank you, Nutesa, for long years of fruitful cooperation and partnership. For sure, we did not get bored, nor do we intend to get bored in the future. So we will meet soon, but in the meantime, really I'm here to thank you and to celebrate you. We have overcome together difficult moments, past and recent ones, but we have a long way ahead of us together. So the first 80th year are for you and we celebrate you. All the best and see you soon. Bye bye.
Hola amigos, les saluda Janet Villarreal Can, coordinadora del área de idiomas y arte de la institución educativa privada Ana María Can desde Caraballo, Lima Norte. Saludar muy cordialmente y felicitar a la empresa Nutesa al cumplir 80 años de labor institucional en nuestro país. Animarlos y sobre todo felicitar este gran trabajo que vienen realizando por seguir sumando los esfuerzos por mejorar la calidad educativa en nuestra patria. Que sigan los éxitos y adelante. Muchas gracias.
En Nutesa estamos comprometidos a llevar educación a todos los estudiantes peruanos. Por ello seguimos.
Yes, just a minute. Thank you, Rob. Thank you so much again for being here, for being part of this wonderful convention and for this celebration that we are having for our 80th anniversary. Thank you and hoping to see you soon, right?
Thank you. Hope to see you all. Thanks,
Goodbye.
everybody.
Hope to see you soon and here in Peru.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah,
Great.
thank you so
Happy
much.
anniversary.
Thank you
Thank you,
again.
Rob,
Okay.
Bye now.
so much.
And dear teachers, to continue with this, you can have just some minutes to take a coffee, right? And return, but we are going to be projecting our video from Nutesa, okay? And remember to fill in the link in every session, right? Every session you must be filling in the link for your certification. Okay, oh my God, cheers, right. Nutesa'S, greetings, thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you so much, thank you, right? Okay,
Patricia, sorry,
yes.
deben llenar el enlace porque en cada sesión es diferente para que puedan tener su certificado. El que llenó en la primera tiene que llenar ahora también. Cada vez que ingresamos a una nueva sesión, debemos llenar el enlace para obtener nuestro certificado. ¿Yes? Así.
Oh, look at that wonderful face, Miss Angelica.
Thanks, Miss
Thank you.
Angelica.
Okay, be prepared, huh? Be prepared. When I ask for the pictures, you show us all your love, right? Thank you so much. Okay, so let's continue watching the video, Benji, and stay there, don't go, just stay there, and we are going to start with the last session in just some minutes, okay? Thank you, yeah.
Estamos comprometidos a llevar educación a todos los estudiantes peruanos. Por ello seguimos trabajando, adaptándonos a la era digital, brindando así de acorde a las necesidades de hoy, porque el aprendizaje no se detiene. Nos encontramos en Lima, Arequipa, Cajamarca, Piura, Chiclayo, Trujillo, Ica, Tarapoto, Huánuco, Huancayo, Ayacucho, Cusco, Moquegua y Tacna. Una sola empresa con 80 años de experiencia en el área de educación y que llega a todos los segmentos con recursos educativos multinivel y en diferentes idiomas publicados por las mejores editoriales del mundo. Express Publishing. con más de 3.500 títulos publicados presente en más de 90 países. Nos ofrece soluciones educativas basadas en el desarrollo del pensamiento crítico y resolución de problemas, todo ello en forma digital, además de contar con material dirigido a carreras profesionales como Derecho, Negocios, Enfermería, entre otros. National Geographic Learning, la editorial que lleva el mundo al aula y el aula a la vida de los estudiantes. Sus series permiten el aprendizaje por experiencias y desarrollan habilidades para ser ciudadanos globales exitosos. eFuture, editorial innovadora con productos que se adaptan a nuestros estudiantes, especialistas en desarrollar contenidos basados en las competencias del siglo XXI. Ellie Publishing, editorial con un gran respaldo en el mundo de las editoriales. Es líder en publicaciones no solamente para el aprendizaje del inglés, sino de otros idiomas también, conocida por su contenido creativo. Prime Press es una editorial educativa internacional con sede en Atenas, Grecia, que se expande a nivel mundial a través de oficinas en varios países con la misión de crear contenido de calidad y servir al mundo educativo con mejores planes de estudios en inglés, árabe y francés. A-List Learning es líder en Asia en publicaciones especializadas para el aprendizaje de niños en inicial y primaria, y su material está basado en la metodología educativa del lenguaje sólido. McGraw-Hill, con la misión de lograr experiencias intuitivas y atractivas para los estudiantes, esta editorial ha desarrollado sus series a partir de la investigación. Nos presenta sus programas de inglés y el innovador sistema de aprendizaje de las matemáticas, Alex, el cual tiene inteligencia artificial. Editora Positivo, especialistas en publicaciones para el aprendizaje del idioma portugués, fundado en 1972 en la ciudad de Curitiba, en Brasil. El grupo Positivo es hoy la más grande corporación educacional de Brasil, actuando con liderazgo en 3 grandes segmentos: editorial, universidad e informática. Nutesa no solo es una empresa, no es solo la enseñanza o el sentimiento de un libro, la fuerza de un perforador o la elegancia de una agenda. Nutesa somos todos. Nos acompañaste 80 años y hoy te acompañamos a ti. Gracias, Perú. Síguenos en nuestras redes y entérate de nuestros próximos eventos mediante Facebook, YouTube, Instagram y LinkedIn.
The Story Garden is a 6-level coursebook for pupils aged from 6 to 11 years old, covering levels from pre-A1 to A1 plus A2. The Story Garden is based on the heart and mind approach by using popular fairy tales, fables and classic novels, and the storytelling pedagogy by fostering pupils' emotional intelligence. Beautiful illustrations and comic strips will help pupils to communicate emotions, needs, information and language structures. The course offers inclusive learning activities with the Easy English sections, 21st century life skills and global citizenship lessons. Living English and CLIL sections allow pupils to get a window on culture and global topics. The Story Garden comes with a pupils book with workbook, a digital book and an app, an innovative lap book for learning by doing. Don't forget the teacher's material, a teacher's guide with digital book and digital tests on YL exams, flashcards and educational posters, photocopiable worksheets. Find out more about the Story Garden by Maria Grazia Bertolini, with contributions by Marta Huber, Jane Cadwallader and Michelle Morgan.
Des exemples pratiques d'activités que l'on trouve dans le manuel l'EOT au niveau 1, 2 et 3. Les niveaux pré A1 est en préparation. À la fin de ce webinaire, je serai heureuse de répondre à des questions par mail. Et pour ce faire, je vous donnerai mon adresse. Mais voici les thèmes que nous aborderons aujourd'hui. On parlera de l'histoire du cadre, des nouveautés du volume complémentaire de 2018, de la définition que l'on trouve dans le cadre quant aux élèves et l'approche actionnelle, de la langue des signes et du prêt à 1, et puis du cadre de compétences clés. Je vous montrerai des exemples d'activités pratiques quant à l'EMIL, à la réception, à l'interaction, à la production,
les exigences des élèves. Les unités sont très structurées et contiennent des dialogues d'ouverture, des textes écrits, du lexique, des fonctions communicatives et grammaticales. De même, vous trouverez des activités qui portent sur la communication, la phonétique et l'orthographe, ainsi que des jeux de rôle, entre autres. Si je vous raconte tout, il n'y a plus de surprise. Donc, je vais vous laisser peut-être commander une copie pour le prof, pour regarder un peu de quoi il s'agit. Alors, bien sûr, le livre numérique existe aussi.
Okay, dear teachers, we are going to be waiting for our last speaker. I don't know, Luciana, are you here with us?
Not yet.
Not
he
yet.
will arrive at 11:20. That is the time that we have.
11:10.
Okay, let me check with her. But
minutes before.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Benji, is the first slide, please, so we can have music for waiting. Yes. I guess the first slide, please, Benji, the first slide with the music. So we can be waiting for Luciana, please. Okay. We have music now. Thank you.
Patricia, es bueno mencionar de que los profesores tienen que en cada sesión llenar sus links, como se les indicó al inicio de la primera sesión del día de hoy. No se olviden, por favor, de llenar sus links para poder tener los certificados al final de su clase. ¿Ok? Listo, gracias.
Now we have Benji. Benji, I think we have Luciana with us.
Okay, yes, nice. Okay. So Lourdes, what we have?
Yes, now we have, well, show
again,
me.
Again, share it. Benji, share it.
We share.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you so much. Inquiry-based learning, turning a classroom of learners into a classroom of teachers. Let's see. And for this topic, we have Luciana Fernandez with us. Yes, Luciana, are you here?
Yes, I am. Hello,
Oh,
Lourdes.
hello, Luciana.
Hello,
Hello.
Luciana. Hello, a
Hello,
pleasure.
hello,
Okay.
Patricia.
Hello.
So some words about Luciana first. Luciana is a graduate teacher of English and a teacher educator who has 27 years experience in the field of education. She has specialized in methodology, teaching practice, early years education, literacy, and critical thinking. She holds a diploma in educational research from University of Cambridge. She has also two postgraduate certifications in teaching for comprehension and thinking cultures. Luciana has presented in numerous congresses and conventions, both nationally and internationally, and was awarded an IATEFL scholarship in 2016. At present, she is a senior academic consultant for National Geographic Learning and Trinity College London, Argentina, and she is an educational advisor at several schools. She has been both a teacher and head teacher at several institutions in Buenos Aires and has been a teacher trainer at ISARP, English Speaking Scholastic Association of the River Plate, for the past 14 years. So, Luciana, the floor is yours and warm applauses for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's an absolute privilege for me to be here with all of you today. I want to warmly say hello to everyone from Buenos Aires, Argentina. All right. It's so good to be so far and yet so close to all of you. Thank you for being here today. I really hope you make the most of this session today. I really want to thank National Geographic Learning for making it possible for me to be with all of you today. So if that's okay with all of you, I'm going to start by sharing my screen. I think I need access to be able to do that. Do you think you can help me?
Benji, please, can you give co-host to Luciana, please? Okay. Yes.
Let's see. Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
Yeah, ready.
Okay.
Ready. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Now we're absolutely ready. Now we're
Yeah,
absolutely ready. So in a few seconds, you should be able to see my presentation. I think you can now, right?
Yes.
Lovely. Thank you so much. So, dear everyone, welcome to this session entitled Inquiry-Based Learning, turning a class of learners into a class of teachers. How can we do that? All right. So I just want to say that should you have any questions or comments you would like to make, you can feel free to share any thoughts or ideas in the chat, because I'm going to be reading you as I am presenting. So good. Let us begin. One of the things that I like doing every time I start a presentation is sharing with attendees what is it that I'm going to cover in the session. So what is it that we are going to be sharing today, dear everyone? Today, we've got the big question to get started with today is, what is inquiry-based learning and why does it matter? We're going to be talking about inquiry-based learning for life and careers. And we're going to be, of course, reaching some very interesting conclusions. So let us go to the first question we've got for today. What is inquiry-based learning and why does it matter? So I would like to start by sharing a quote with all of you to see what you think. Without applying the understandings and consolidating the new knowledge through practical experiences, students remain disconnected from the learning. What are your thoughts, dear teachers? How important it is that what our students learn, they have the possibility to apply, all right, to different scenarios. How important it is that our students are engaged in practical experiences, because otherwise they get disconnected from their learning, and there is nothing more dangerous than that. So after discussing this quote, let us get started. I'm not going to take anything for granted, but let us start with the basics as for what inquiry-based learning is. One of the things that you need to know, dear teachers, is that inquiry-based learning is an umbrella term where we find the very well-known project-based learning, for example, or problem-based learning. The truth is that when we are talking about inquiry, what we are saying is that whatever we want to teach to our students, we turn it into a challenging problem or a driving question. The whole cycle begins with a question or a problem that aims at making students feel curious. So we start with what pedagogy might call an essential question, a driving question, also known as big questions, but not necessarily is it always a question. It might be a trigger. I might be bringing an object to the classroom or a photo, or why not a video? Whatever is going to trigger our students' curiosity. So as you can see, that is where the cycle begins, with a challenging problem or question. Now, of course, now that whatever content has been problematized, students are going to be engaged in sustained inquiry. What does this mean? Students are going to engage in investigating, searching for answers to that question that has been posed at the beginning. And one of the characteristics is that students actually have the chance to interact with authentic materials. And when I say authentic materials, I'm talking about texts and videos and blogs, and why not even people, sources of information that our students are going to be interacting with in search for answers to that question that is driving the cycle. But another very important thing to take into consideration is another aspect of inquiry-based learning, which, as you can see, is student voice and choice. As students are engaged in investigating and as they are interacting with different sources of information, it's very important that they access these sources of information with a critical mind. And when we are talking about a critical mind, what we are saying is we don't want students to Google information and cut and paste information. What we want them is to develop thoughts and ideas in response to the sources of information that they have been interacting with. And of course, there needs to be reflection as they are doing research. They need to constantly go back to this question that drives the cycle. What is the question that we are trying to answer? Am I getting the answers that I need? There's also critique and revision as students are getting to conclusions, as they are developing new knowledge, as they are developing new ideas. And it's going to be precisely these new ideas, this new knowledge that students are going to develop as a result of being engaged in investigation, which is going to be presented publicly. That's why the name of this session today is the fact that inquiry-based learning can turn a class of students into a class of teachers, because whatever students are learning, they will have the possibility to teach to others. Fine. So dear teachers, right now on the screen, what you've got is what is known as the inquiry cycle. The inquiry cycle begins with a question. So we ask or we engage students in asking. Then it moves on to an investigation phase. Students go in search for answers. What do they create? Thoughts, ideas, conclusions. And this is something that they are going to be discussing and reflecting upon. And as we said before, these reflections, these ideas, all right, these new thoughts that are the result of investigation are precisely what students are going to be teaching to others. So now it's very important, dear teachers, that you know that there are different types of projects that we can engage our students in as we bring inquiry-based learning into the classroom. One of the most well-known types of projects are the type of projects where students are going to be learning something new. And then by the end of the inquiry cycle, they will be sharing with others the new skills or understandings that they have gained. But there are other types of projects, and this is very important for you to know. There are projects called What Will I Create? And these are projects for which students are going to have the possibility to invent, create, or make new products, or why not even improve ideas. And what they are going to be sharing with the rest of the class is exactly their inventions, their creations, their new products, their improved ideas. But then there's also projects that answer the what will I solve? And these are the typical problem-based projects in which students, the cycle begins with a problem, students interact with sources of information, they learn new skills to be able to solve the problem, and what they are presenting at the end is the solution they have come up with. I have to confess, my favorite are known as passion projects, where students have the possibility to share with others their personal interests or the passions that they have. So these are projects that actually give students the possibility to follow passions, dreams, and ambitions, or why not, even talents, hobbies, and curiosities. And that's going to be precisely what they are going to be sharing with others. And last but not least, projects that I'm also very fond of are those projects that seek to have an impact on the lives of others. So these are projects that are going to give our students the possibility to do something in the hope that they can somehow impact the world and other people's lives. The result of a project like this one, for example, might be our raising awareness campaign, for example, which our students are going to be sharing with others. So this is just for you to see how broad inquiry-based learning can be. And so now I want to show you, broadly speaking, and now we are going to dive into each and every of the phases of inquiry-based learning. But basically, I want to give you an example. For example, if I want to work on a unit where the content has to do with water and taking care of the water and how important water is as a resource, I might start my inquiry cycle with a very interesting name for my unit, such as, for example, Every Drop Matters. And what's an example for problematizing the content? Turning the content into a big question. For example, why is water so important? Notice that the characteristic of this big question is that it doesn't have a unique answer. You can answer this question with whatever prior knowledge, experience, or background knowledge that students can have. Piaget talked about the fact that questions created a cognitive conflict. How amazing is this? Our students are going to be able to answer this question using any background knowledge that they are bringing to the learning experience. But at the same time, this is a question that might make them notice that they don't know everything in order to answer this question. So how important it is that at the beginning of the inquiry cycle, as we are posing this thought-provoking question, students also have the possibility to share whatever background knowledge they are bringing. So look at this practical example you've got on the screen. Students are asked to think about the things you did today that required water. So students can start thinking, well, I actually had to brush my teeth and my face, and I took a shower, and I had to prepare coffee in the morning, and I needed water. So they have to start reflecting, or as I like to say, connecting personally to the content, to the topic they are going to be exploring. So as you can see, this is where the cycle begins. Problematizing the content. How does the cycle continue? As I was saying before, this is the investigation phase. Students are going to be reading different texts. One of the things that I really like as an educator is that students can access different sources of information. So they might be reading fiction, non-fiction, they might be accessing infographics, they might be watching a video, listening to an expert talking about the topic. So in the investigation phase, students investigate with everything that the word investigate actually implies. Investigating is not cutting and pasting from the internet. Investigating is reading and thinking critically about the information that we access. Now, right after this very important phase, investigation phase. Hello, Diana Peralta. Hello, darling. So after this very interesting investigation phase in which students are interacting and searching for information, and they are reflecting and learning and reaching conclusions, the next part of the cycle is going back to the initial question. Because guess what, dear teachers? If we go back to the question after the investigation phase, it's mostly likely that our students will have more to say. They will have more knowledge to demonstrate now. Or something that is also my favorite thing is that students are going to realize that the own beliefs, knowledge, and assumptions that they had at the beginning probably were challenged, that they don't know now what they used to know before, that they know more, or that they may have even modified their thinking. And what is why, again, let me insist, why is the name of this session turning a class of learners into a class of teachers? Because now students will have to share their new knowledge, their new ideas, their new findings with other classmates, with not necessarily classmates, it might be with students from other classes, or why not with the outer community beyond the classroom walls. So dear everybody, so far, so good. Let me know in the chat box if I am being clear. If you happen to have any comments or doubts, I am here for you to address any doubt that you may have. Remember that I'm reading you, all right? So what do you say? Do I have green light to continue? Everything clear so far? Just let me know and I'm going to be reading you, okay? So one of the very important, let's see, the chat box is blinking already. Okay, light. Good, green light. That's the way I like it, Lourdes. Very good. So, but anyway, remember, anyone, should you have any question or doubt, I'm here for you. So one of the fantastic things about inquiry-based learning is that it is a student-centered approach. Why are we talking about inquiry-based learning as a learner-centered approach? Because the teacher is not imparting knowledge like in the traditional classroom. The teacher is a facilitator. The teacher is a guide. The teacher accompanies students throughout the cycle. This does not mean at all that in inquiry-based learning, as a teacher, you cannot teach students either content or skills that they might need, okay, to find answers to the question. But it's really the student who happens to be the protagonist. Now, something we are going to be exploring in depth now, dear everyone, are the characteristics of inquiry-based learning. And they happen to be connection, foundation, exploration, examination, and creation. Let's see exactly what we are talking about. Whenever we want to do inquiry-based learning in our classes, the first characteristic is connection. We need to engage our students' worlds. What exactly does that mean? That means that our students' beliefs, background knowledge, experiences, emotions, feelings, everything that they are bringing to the learning experience needs to be actually taken into consideration. Our students are not blank slates, all right? They bring a lot to the learning experience. So as I was saying before, if the topic is going to be water, give students the possibility to explore what beliefs, assumptions, and knowledge they already have about water that they can use. Neuroscience is very clear about this. Every new knowledge that students are going to gain builds upon already existing knowledge that students bring. So, apart from connection, another characteristic of inquiry-based learning is foundation. And this is how important it is as teachers that we make students aware of the background knowledge that they bring to the learning experience, but that we can also provide them with extra background knowledge. So it's not just about activating the knowledge that they bring, but it's also about why not building some background knowledge that students can then rely on during the investigation phase. Now, the investigation phase is characterized, dear teachers, by exploration and examination, the two characteristics we are exploring now. Exploration refers to how students deepen their knowledge, how they go deep into their knowledge as they are searching for further answers to the question that directs the inquiry. And examination, and think this is really very important. Oh, Luis, what an angel. Thank you for saying that. I'm so happy to read that you are learning a lot. Something that I should have said before is that I will be sharing my email address with you all. And if you want me to share my presentation, and that's how we are going to remain in contact. So fantastic to hear that. Now, these teachers, this next characteristic that I'm going to mention now is critical. As I've been repeating, we have to be very careful with not calling any process investigation. Investigation demands critical thinking. It demands that our students actually can examine diverse and conflicting information. Do you know why conflicting information, dear everyone? Because you might be reading something that challenges what you thought or believed. Has this ever happened to you? You were absolutely convinced of something, and then you started doing research and you went like, oh no, I was wrong. I was mistaken. This is completely different to what I thought. And this is when you have the aha moment. And this is the aha moment that inquiry-based learning wants our students to have, all right? So, wow, a lot of teachers who remember my visiting you in lovely Peru. Oh, how I wish I could go back soon. Thank you so much for your comments. It melts my heart. Let us go to the last, sorry, Patricia and Lourdes, but you know what happens in your heart when you see that teachers remember you, right?
Yes, of course. Yes,
It makes my heart beat very fast because I love working with teachers. I love working with teachers.
And they love working with you, and they remember you.
And they remember me. Yes, it melts my heart. Melts my heart.
Yes.
All right.
We are friends here. And
I
if you have to
know.
stop your presentation to say hello to the ones that are greeting you, Please
we're
go
gonna
ahead.
do that. All right, lovely. And Peru is always in my heart. I've visited Peru so many times and I've visited so many places and I'm longing to be back. And last but not least, going back to our presentation, then there is this characteristic of creation. Remember that if the investigation phase has gone really well, students will have learned new things. They will have new ideas. They will have new thoughts. And what can be more wonderful than providing our students with the possibility to share that new knowledge with others, all right? This is why the meaningful representations of knowledge that have actually taken place in our students' minds can now be shared. So dear teachers, now that we have explored the characteristics of inquiry-based learning, we are going to check on them with practical examples. So remember that inquiry-based learning is for students of all ages. It might be very young students, it might be teenagers, it might be adults. Hello, Diana. I remember you all with really and true love. Thank you for your words. So remember that inquiry-based learning can be applied in any classroom and with students of all ages. I will simply give you some practical examples, all right? These are just ways in which I want to illustrate each and every of the characteristics that I am mentioning. So let's go to characteristic number 1, connection. Engaging students' worlds. What if the unit, for example, already has a title that invites students to think, like everything changes? Everything changes? What changes? Does everything change? Notice that the title of the unit is already an invitation to think. What if I explicitly bring into the classroom a big question, such as, why is nature always changing? Is there a unique answer for this question? Of course not. And that is the characteristic of driving questions. They trigger either background knowledge, experiences, beliefs, assumptions. But as I always say, what this type of questions trigger the most is probably an I don't know. And what happens when you don't know? You want to know. So the idea is that this driving question makes our students feel curious. I am giving you examples for young children now, because usually teachers say, how can they imagine the inquiry cycle with older students and they find it difficult to imagine this with younger students. So I'm going to show you. This applies to students of all ages. Now, what if also you give students the possibility to share already what they know? Look at what a simple activity you can engage students in. For example, getting children, in this case, to draw a picture of their favorite time of the year. So for example, if you asked me to draw my favorite part of the year, I would definitely draw spring or summer. But maybe, who knows, Patricia would be choosing a different season, or Lourdes might be choosing a different season. Who knows? Because we all like different moments of the year. And what if we start noticing that in my drawing, there's plenty of green and flowers and the weather is sunny, but if you look at somebody who has drawn winter, trees are not that green, the weather is not that sunny, people are wearing different clothes. So this is where students begin to get into the content that we are about to explore. Now, the second characteristic is foundation. I am talking to you on behalf of National Geographic Learning. And at National Geographic Learning, we absolutely believe in bringing the world into the classroom, all right? So remember that it's not just a matter of activating prior knowledge, but it's also a matter of building some background knowledge that our students can definitely use eventually as they are in the investigation phase and make connections. I will have to stop sharing just for a minute because I forgot to share the sound of my computer. I apologize for that. So it's just a second. All right. I want to show you how, for example, using a fantastic authentic video. That's why before today we were talking about authenticity, how you can build students' background. Let's see.
Why is nature always changing? Look at how this tree changes throughout the year. Shadows change with the sun. When the sun is low, the shadows are long. When the sun is high in the sky, the shadows get shorter. There is a pattern of change of day and night when the earth moves around the sun. This motion happens every day. This pattern repeats over and over again. When the sun appears in the morning, the day begins. When the sun sets at night, the day ends and night begins. At night, we can see the moon and stars in the sky. We can observe change with the seasons too. Winter ends and spring begins. Spring ends and summer begins. Summer ends and fall begins. Fall ends and winter begins again. Every year, the pattern repeats. Nature changes because of patterns of change.
So remember, it's not just a matter of activating prior knowledge, we can also build it. But we are about to enter what I believe is the heart of inquiry-based learning, and that is the exploration phase. This is the moment when students are going to be interacting with different sources of information in search for more answers to the question that drives the inquiry. So let's face it, dear teachers, whatever inquiry, whatever doubt, whatever question, whatever is driving my curiosity and I want to find out, I will probably have to engage in lots of reading or in lots of viewing. And let us face it also, our students today are bombarded with visual information and they live in the information era. So more than ever before, I always say this, but when I was a little girl and my teachers asked me to do research, I would go back home praying that the information that I needed, what it was in any of the 2 or 3 books that I had on a shelf, which I actually had to read very carefully. But what about our students today? They go to Google, and Google for them is like the oracle of truth. And if we don't teach them to think critically, they might be, they definitely might be accessing information which is fake if they don't do this with a critical mind, which means that for us, dear teachers, and I don't know if you've ever heard about this, but our students live in what is known as the post-truth era. We cannot longer trust anything we access to be absolutely true. We need to read and access every source of information with a critical mind. So I think that everybody talks about critical thinking as a 21st century skill. I think critical thinking has always been important, but it's more important than ever now that students can access information 24/7 and that they can access any type of information. So you're probably wondering, why is it that I'm mentioning all this? Because part of what inquiry learning suggests is that as we give students the possibility to interact with different sources of information, we understand that they need critical skills to be able to do this. So something we are strong believers in at National Geographic Learning is equipping our learners with the critical thinking skills that they need to access information. And I am talking about explicitly teaching our students, for example, reading or thinking strategies. Everybody's talking about critical thinking, but you know what? Critical thinking, again, is an umbrella term, and it is made up of very many sub-skills, such as, for example, comparing and contrasting. And we cannot take for granted that our students know how to do that. So we need to explicitly teach them not only what comparing and contrasting mean, but we must also provide them with tools such as graphic organizers, a comparison chart, how important it is that students can, for example, use, yes, Luis, scanning and skimming and making inferences and making predictions. Exactly. It's so important that we empower our learners with what it actually takes to investigate in a proper way. So, and now Luis was mentioning skimming and scanning. The good news, I am also a literacy trainer. So the good news that I've got for all of you is that reading strategies used by effective readers are not more than 10. Not more than 10. How important it is that we teachers really teach these strategies explicitly, and that we give our students lots of opportunities to put this into practice. So skimming and scanning, visualizing, making a mental picture as you are reading, making inferences, making predictions, asking questions. And you know what? There are plenty of schools and plenty of teachers actually taking this for granted rather than investing time on explicitly teaching. Now, Luis, I am so happy you're mentioning dialogic reading and how important it is that reading is actually dialogic, because the more we engage our students in talking about, thinking about what they are reading, the information they are accessing, the more we are equipping them to deal with the amount of information that is waiting for them on a daily basis. So I'm so happy to read this feedback from you. So the examples that you've got on the screen right now are an explicit section in which we are teaching a reading strategy, with then the possibility for students to apply that reading strategy as they are interacting with a source of information. So it's about teaching reading strategies, teaching thinking skills, teaching our students to use graphic organizers, mind maps, whatever. Have you heard about study techniques? Also study techniques. It's so important that our students are well equipped to actually read all the sources of information with a critical mind. And last but not least in the cycle, there is creation. As I was telling you before, the inquiry cycle suggests that after the investigation phase, we go back to the question and we ask ourselves the driving question again. Why is nature always changing? And so important it is that we somehow leave a record of students' initial thoughts and ideas at the beginning of the cycle, because this moment afterwards is when students are going to be confronted with those initial ideas, realizing that some knowledge that they had before has been strengthened by the sources of information that they have interacted with, or the thoughts and ideas that they had at the beginning of the cycle may have been challenged. So, oh, I used to think, but now I think. I used to know, but now I know. And do you know what that is, dear teachers? It's not more, not less than realizing that you have learned. Some years ago, I was at a congress about thinking. You must have heard in my biodata that I've got certifications in thinking. And there was a fantastic speaker who said something that made my heart beat fast. And the speaker said it in Spanish. So if you allow me, he said, del aprendizaje nadie sale ileso. Isn't it beautiful? You don't live a true learning experience in the way you entered it. Either you have reinforced your ideas, or you had challenged your ideas, or you had fattened your ideas. And this is why, let me insist one more time, this session is called Turning a Class of Learners in a Class of Teachers, because everything they've learned, now they have the possibility to teach to others. And neuroscience says that if you really want to know if somebody learned something, you need to get them to explain it to somebody else. And this is something also very interesting about inquiry-based learning, in the sense that it gives students the possibility of voice and choice. Voice and choice is, I can choose how I want to teach others what I have learned. Oh yes, Luis, that is an example of a graphic organizer. For brainstorming, it could be a spidergram. Graphic organizers are really the bomb for this. Thank you for mentioning that example, dear. So we've gone through all the inquiry cycle together. But now I wanna, as we are reaching probably the final moments of this presentation, it's very important that we stop to think why inquiry-based learning matters in education. Simply because it prepares students for life and careers. Now, in today's world, content is easily accessed, faster and more easily than ever before. So the question that we have to ask ourselves as educators is, how can we ensure that we are actually equipping students with the skills that they need to be successful in their future careers and their future workplaces and in life in general? So one of the big challenges that we educators have today is that we are preparing students for jobs that probably don't exist yet in such a fast changing world. So something that is going to bring peace to our souls is the fact that the skills that drove society forward like 100 years ago are still relevant today, and they will still be relevant for the future. And let us stop to think for a moment about the skills that we are talking about. So here you've got again the inquiry cycle, which is at the heart of our talk today. Starting with wondering, it moves on to investigating, it moves on to creating knowledge, discussing, and then acting, thinking, doing, feeling, being, having a saying. And all throughout there is reflection. So the question that remains is, how can we make sure we are equipping students with the skills they need to be successful? And I'm pretty sure, dear teachers, that you must have heard about the so-called 21st century skills. And you know that sometimes they talk about the 4 C's, sometimes they are 7 C's. Some other researchers have gone crazy with a lot of skills. But let me mention the ones that most researchers agree on. Our students need to be curious. Curiosity drives invention and drives change. This world would not have evolved hadn't it been for curious minds. Don't you agree? So you know what the saying says? Curiosity killed the cat, but that is what they want to make us believe. Okay, let us have more curious minds in our classrooms. So curiosity, creativity, critical thinking, the possibility to work collaboratively with others, perseverance, resilience, flexibility in a fast changing world. Well, the pandemic has given us a huge lesson on that, hasn't it? And of course, social and emotional awareness. We educators are fully responsible for bringing all these skills into the classroom. Dear everyone, I'm going to be sharing my email address at the end of the presentation so that you can write to me and I will reply with the attachment of the presentation. I promise, okay? Very good. So let us move on. So the question I'm asking you, dear teachers, curiosity. Do you ignite it in your learners? Look at these examples that we've got on the screen. Just how smart are animals is the driving question. Isn't it a fantastic question? How smart are animals? Or if we were to work on a unit on trash, why should we care about garbage? Or if we are talking about traditions, how can we preserve our traditions? Notice that this question, how can we preserve our tradition, is an example of a problem to solve. How can I'm going to come up with a suggestion or a possible way of preserving a tradition. So the question or the challenge that I've got for you all, dear teachers, is how can you turn the content that you want or you have to teach, which is in your syllabus, how can you turn it into a question that is going to be thought-provoking enough to get your students to want to learn more? Or for example, why are bees important? Or what might happen if there were no bees at all? Or why is the job of somebody who works with bees very important? So we've been mentioning curiosity as a key factor in inquiry-based learning. So it's really very important that now we ask ourselves what curiosity is made of. Curiosity makes our students respond to unfamiliar, challenging information. Curiosity drives the impulse to learn. It leads our students to operate as self-directed, autonomous learners. I want you to think about a baby or a toddler. Have you seen how curious they are about the world and how they touch everything and how they put it in their mouths, how they are using their senses to make sense out of the world that they live in? And curiosity gives learning and thinking a direction. I am curious about something. That is what drives my inquiry. So, igniting our students' curiosity, the beginning of the cycle. How do we do it? By problematizing the content, by starting from where students are, activating their prior knowledge, activating their beliefs, assumptions, knowledge, making them relate personally to whatever content is to be studied, and also by igniting their curiosity. That's the way we do it. That's the way we do it. Thank you, Maritza, honey. Thank you so much. Now, I want to show you, and now I've got a new question to ask you, dear teachers. Do you teach students thinking and reading skills? From the comments I've read in the chat, I can see that many of you are already, and it makes me very happy. But I'm just showing you more examples. Can you please turn? Oh, yes, there was a microphone off and I could hear myself, which can be very annoying, let me tell you. So do you explicitly teach your students, for example, skimming? Luis, I think you were mentioning that. Do you teach skimming and scanning? Do you engage students in pre-reading instances where you are actually making reading dialogic, as you mentioned before? Is there room for critical thinking in your classes? Are you using materials that make room for the development of these thinking skills and reading strategies? So critical thinking tasks into the classroom, dear teachers. Do you ask a lot of what do you think, or who do you think, or what are your ideas? Do you give students the possibility, for example, to engage in ranking or evaluating ideas so that students can actually discuss, argue, share their thoughts and ideas? And one of the things that I am exemplifying as you look at the screen right now, it is true, Maria Lia, that many students don't like reading. Do you know what I believe, Maria Lia? That they don't like reading because they haven't been successful at reading, because they haven't been engaged, because they come from a lot of frustrating experiences. They need the motivation to read. And actually, if you think about it, we read to learn. So it's very important, let me insist again, with equipping students with reading strategies. Luis is mentioning how important it is, since our students are bombarded with lots of visual information, that we develop in them visual literacy, which is the ability to think critically about information being displayed through visuals. Absolutely, I absolutely agree. We need to give students an active role as readers. That's why reading comprehension is not asking literal questions. It's actually engaging students in a true coming and going. What is happening to me as a reader of the text? What have I inferred from what I've read? What has happened to me emotionally with what I've read? That is also what voice and choice has to do with when it comes to reading. But what I wanted to say now is that I'm showing you some examples from National Geographic learning material where you can see very clearly that it does say critical thinking, but we are unwrapping the concept and we are teaching a particular critical thinking skill within critical thinking. So for example, evaluating a claim or applying an idea. This is called, now that Maria Lia was mentioning this and Luis as well, it's really very important that we know that this is called strategic reading. We are equipping students with strategies that effective readers use and which actually engage students in lots of thinking, all right? Because reading is a synonym of thinking. Otherwise, we are just parroting the information from a text. Now, we've been mentioning, and Luis was also providing an example in the chat box, but how important it is, yes, Luis, that we change the seating arrangement, that students have the possibility to talk and exchange ideas in response to what they have read, that they are equipped with thinking maps, graphic organizers, which are visual ways that help our students organize the information they are accessing. So how can, for example, students determine the main idea and the details of a text? Or how can they visualize as they read? Now, so how can we empower our students for the investigation and creation phase in inquiry-based learning? By explicitly teaching and naming thinking strategies, by teaching students to make their thinking visible. What makes you say that? How did you come up with that conclusion? Where did you take that from? What has happened to you as you were reading this? That is what we mean by visible thinking. And of course, also by effectively teaching students to use thinking maps. Now, as for the rest of the very important skills that inquiry-based learning develop, such as creativity, collaboration, perseverance, social and emotional skills, the question remains, do you make room for this in your classroom, dear teachers? Do you? All right. So it's really very important that we engage students. And I was reading Luis talking about giving students the possibility to talk to each other and varying the sitting arrangement. And now teacher Victor is saying reading is the best way to learn. Absolutely. That is mostly how we access learning. So our students need to be equipped to be very powerful readers. So it's one of the fantastic things about inquiry-based learning is that it engages students in meaningful learning. So that's why, let me insist again, the name of this session is Turning a Class of Learners into a Class of Teachers. Students will now show and share with others what they have learned. And for this, a characteristic of inquiry-based learning is student voice and choice. From a very young age, we can empower students by teaching them that they have the ability to shape their lives. Subtle shifts, like offering our students options, by asking them how they feel, by making room for them to share their thoughts, showing them that we value their ideas and thoughts. This is so powerful for our learners. Having choice promotes feeling of control over your life, and it makes you feel from a very early age that you are in command. When students are able to act with self-determination, this has an impact on the way they work, either individually or collectively. So remember, give students options to choose from, make a lot of room for them to express themselves, and show them that you value their thoughts, ideas, and that there is room for sharing these. So these are some examples of voice and choice through the materials that we can bring into the classroom. For example, as you've got this on the screen, students might be choosing whether they want to work independently, or if they want to work in pairs, or if they want to work in groups. Or why not? We can give them different options in which they can present their impact project. Remember, one type of project was the project where you can create something to have an impact on other people's lives. Well, they could be choosing from different options. Or they could be choosing the way in which they want to communicate their new findings and new ideas. They might be talking about it, they might be engaged in some craft, or they might be dramatizing, or they might be creating a video. So lots of possibilities. That as regards choice. What happens with voice? In order to prepare our students to be productive members of society, we must teach them that their thoughts and opinions matter, and that we learn from others. That's why sharing ideas is so important. So Luis, I was so happy when I was reading you with this question of dialogic reading and having different seating arrangements so that students have lots of opportunities for interaction. Inviting students into conversations that will develop their thinking and propel their thinking forward. As students grow older, a strong voice is a productive, very productive channel for self-development. All of us who have experience teaching teenagers, we know how important self-expression happens to be for them. So we are getting to the end because I really want to make room for any final questions or comments, but the more we invite inquiry-based learning into the classroom, the more we are thinking as our students, as inquirers, thinkers, and innovators, okay? The idea is that if we believe that our students can contribute to our social and civic dialogue, then we have to invite them to be part. It's time to acknowledge that kids and students of all ages, they've got valuable insights. We must create space for them to share their thoughts, share their opinions, and take action. Any adult who works alongside young people can help them become better thinkers, better problem solvers, and more active doers. That is what the world needs. At National Geographic Learning, we see students as the next explorers, as the future politicians, presidents, decision makers, scientists, engineers. If you have such faith in your students, then it's very important that you bring the kind of education that shows them how you believe in them as such. So we are reaching the conclusions now. When students engage in inquiry-based learners, they learn project management. They grow more empathetic. They become system thinkers. They become explorers. They become widely and unabashedly different. They are more engaged in their learning. They are ready for the creative economy. They learn to take creative risks. They make deep connections between ideas. They think divergently. And definitely, they engage in iterative thinking. So, dear teachers, if you envision a world where the educational system adequately prepares students for the world they will enter into, where content areas are integrated to promote deeper understanding, where students develop a lifelong of learning in pursuit of doing, then be the teacher who stands out. And I know you are, out of the contributions I've been reading. I know that you believe in your students. So inquiry-based learning is an approach that actually prepares students for life. So dear teachers, the time has come for me to thank you so much for being in this session. As I promised before, this is my email address. If you send me an email and you tell me that you were part of this beautiful event, I will be more than happy to share a copy of this presentation. And that's how we are going to remain in contact should you have any further questions or comments. But I wanted to deliberately leave some final minutes in case you want to share with me what happened to you with this presentation, if you enjoyed it, if you happen to have any comments, or why not, doubts. I'm here for you and I'm reading you. Monica, thank you. Thank you so much, Maria Lia. I am reading. Thank you so much, Victor and Jennifer. Thank you so much, Blanca. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Luciana, for your generosity. And yes, Ms. Jimena says, thank you very much. And we give some words. Well, the totally of the topic was very, very nice for us. We keep some things that are very important for our teachers. When you say more active doers in the classroom, yes, this is important, and have faith on our students.
Absolutely.
Very important and powerful words for our teachers, because we need, as you say, new people in the future, our kids being presidents, being Congress people, and be really, really good citizens. That's what we need for the global.
That is the word, actually, Lourdes. I believe in global citizenship education, educating students to be citizens of the world. Today, connectivity and the sharing of ideas is beyond the classroom, beyond my neighborhood, beyond my country, beyond my continent. With just a click, technology has made it possible for us to really be part of a village the world happens to be. So that's why it's also so important to develop cultural awareness and listening to others. This question of otherness otherness. My own ideas, but also the ideas of others. Oh, Lucila, I also want to go to Peru really soon, and I hope I have a chance.
Yes,
you know,
why
the
not?
pandemic, when the pandemic started, I was in Peru.
Mm.
And that was the last time I visited Peru, but I'm pretty sure life will eventually take me back. I have really enjoyed this session, and I am incredibly thankful for the beautiful comments that I'm getting. Thank you so much.
You are part of our family at Nutesa,
Oh,
Lucia.
yes, I am. I feel
are.
part of the Nutesa family. Thank you so much for giving teachers the opportunity of being part of events like this one. And I hope you the very best for the rest of the event. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful Saturday.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you, Luciana. What else we have, Lourdes? We have some words for Luciana.
Yes, we have some words for Luciana. So Luciana, please keep connected because we
Okay.
have some interesting greetings from users, people.
Oh,
yes,
lovely.
National Geographic Learning material.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Benji,
So I'm gonna stop sharing. Oh, lovely.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Just some minutes until.
Here we go.
Yes. Yeah.
Pero a mí me encantó lo de la cebada. Oye, hay que seguir investigando. Vamos a ver. Los okinawenses. Fermento todos los días miso.
Microphones.
En Italia.
Ready?
One moment, please.
Okay.
I wanted to.
Thank you very much. Nice comments, all of you.
Okay,
Yes,
here
all
we
of you.
are. Right.
Watch it? Yeah.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right.
And watch it.
Hi, my name is Gisela Perciado and I'm a teacher in San Charbel School. Look at my book, Look. It is a great series which has given a lot of support during the year in listening, speaking, reading, and writing. In speaking, it provides us lots of activities with dialogues that our students really enjoy performing in class. The listening activities are a great support for the Cambridge exams. Writing has been also a useful tool, as this leads our students into the writing process step by step, making it very easy. Something our students really enjoy are the videos with the great sceneries and the great pictures. They really get a lot of information from them. Being honest, we really enjoy teaching Look because it has been a great tool for us. Thanks.
Hola, estimados colegas, estimados amigos y amigas de Nutesa. Soy Laura Köstinger, directora de National Geographic Learning para la América Latina. Muchísimas gracias por invitarme a participar en su magnífica fiesta de aniversario. La verdad es que son muchos años ya trabajando en colaboración, Nutesa y National Geographic Learning, parte de Cengage Learning, pero ciertamente lo mejor está aún por venir. Brindo por eso, pero brindo especialmente por ustedes. Que las instituciones educativas del Perú cuenten por muchos años más con el altísimo profesionalismo del equipo Nutesa. Muchas felicidades por su 80 aniversario. Larga vida Nutesa.
Hola a todos, mi nombre es Fabián García, soy el gerente regional para Sudamérica para National Geographic Learning. Un gusto estar con ustedes y acompañarlos en este 80 aniversario. 80 aniversario no es poco, son 80 años de servicio, de trayectoria, donde todo el equipo de Nutesa se ha esforzado y ha trabajado para generar una marca, un reconocimiento y que el mercado de Perú los vea como referentes en la educación. Desde Colombia le hacemos llegar nuestras felicitaciones, nuestro feliz aniversario y un abrazo muy fuerte.
Hola, soy Judith Yoltés, representante de la editorial Nutesa en la región de Ayacucho. Hoy, en un día tan especial, deseo felicitarlos por sus 80 años de aniversario, que son el reflejo del esfuerzo y compromiso de un equipo profesional, respaldados por la calidad de las series y productos Nutesa, así como un buen servicio por la educación de calidad. Feliz aniversario, mi querida Nutesa.
Desde la ciudad de Cajamarca saludamos a Nutesa.
¡Feliz aniversario! Y que lleguen muchos años más de prosperidad.
¡Feliz 80 aniversario!
Perforador.
Inspires and motivates young learners by using entertaining and fascinating information about the real world, supported by National Geographic stories, images, and video. It gives young learners of English the essential language, skills, and knowledge needed to understand their world, while having fun, of course. Our World includes a video program specially created with National Geographic for young learners of English that features songs, games, and storytelling in every unit, a video-based professional development program created by Dr. Joan Kang Shin to ensure that teachers get the most out of the series, an online companion site for teachers and learners with fun games and activities to reinforce and build upon knowledge gained in the classroom, and Our World Readers, which allow teachers to bring storytelling into their classroom and encourage reading for fun. Our World combines real and inspiring content and stories from National Geographic to motivate young learners, helping them to understand their world, all while learning English.
Thank you very much again, Luciana.
Happy anniversary!
Thank you,
Happy
Luciana.
birthday
Thank
to you.
Thank you so
No,
much.
I'm not going to sing to the audience, but happy anniversary and keep up your amazing, amazing job. I think that one of the very first things I did in Peru was for Nutesa. I'm so happy for having been part of your super birthday party. And so once again, all my love to everybody. Hope to see you really soon.
Thank you.
Hope to see you soon, dear
Bye
Luciana.
bye. Bye everyone.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
And what
We
we
miss
have
you,
next.
Luciana.
Teacher Victor, yes.
Yes. What we have next? Okay. Yes, you
Patricia.
know that we are a family. I told you this and you know us, but we want to introduce our wonderful team, the people that is working always with you and for you. Let's introduce Marisol Perez, okay? In Lima, she's in charge of the center area. Gustavo Vasquez is in charge of Lima North, okay? Renzo Corrales, our commercial supervisor and also in charge of the South, so in Lima. Joel Ordóñez is in Trujillo, the North part in Peru, right? Then we have Evelyn Moscoso, and this is the strong team in Arequipa, and Benji Gonzalez, who is also academic consultant and working with Evelyn in Arequipa. Elizabeth Garrido in charge of PLS, okay, everything of language centers in Lima.
Yes.
Then we have our academic department, Lourdes Loaiza.
And our
our
senior consultant, Patricia Medina.
Okay, and our marketing department, we have, yes, Juanita Valverde and Adelaida Mendoza. And of course, we have our head. We have our commercial manager, Mari Carmen Rosas. She is in charge of all these wonderful things. She is the one guiding us for all the results that we have.
All the orchestra.
Yes. Of all the orchestra. Yeah, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much. And now let's take a picture. Let's take a picture. Open up your cameras, please. Turn on your cameras and say something nice to Nutesa for our anniversary. And we are going to take some pictures, right? Yes, show us your wonderful faces. Thank you so much for being here celebrating with us this 80th anniversary, right? Let us know when the pictures are ready. Juanita, Elizabeth, Adelaida, nos dicen cuando ya estén listas las fotos. Our best faces for this morning, almost afternoon. Hello, nice to see you. Miss Gisela, pleasure, right? Thank you. Yeah, yes, wonderful faces. Thank you for being here, sharing with us this moment.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
yes, nos avisa. Oh, yes, and greetings.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jennifer.
We are reading all your messages. Thank you, Miss Jennifer.
Yeah, all the messages.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, yes, ready the pictures? ¿Lista las fotos, chicas? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, yes, muy bien, muy bien. No, first, before we go on this, yes, thank you, Benji. We have to introduce, right? You saw our team yesterday. You could listen to our general manager, right, with the opening words. And now we have our division manager who is going to give the closing words for this event. Mrs. Fiorella Capelletti. Welcome, Fiorella.
Hi, Patty. Hello, everybody. Sorry for my voice. I'm a little sick today and yesterday, but I'm here and I was watching all the presentations and having a lot of fun with all the speakers. So it's been a pleasure being here and having you with us here for one more year. I'm going to speak in Spanish right now, so it will be easier for everybody to understand. Bueno, queridos profesores, me alegra mucho volver a encontrarnos una vez más en nuestra convención anual NEET. Esperemos que este sea el último año que sea de manera virtual y podamos tener un reencuentro presencial en el 2023. Este año es muy especial para nosotros, pues cumplimos 80 años como grupo. Se ha ido mencionando a lo largo de las sesiones. Y es gracias a su confianza y constante soporte que hemos avanzado a través de todos estos años, representando pues importantes editoriales y marcas, llegando no solo a Lima, también a muchas ciudades de Perú. Debido a la coyuntura del COVID de los últimos 2 años, tuvimos que reinventarnos, al igual que muchos de ustedes, y logramos adaptarnos a la tecnología. Esta experiencia nos ha servido de mucho para el regreso a la presencialidad de este año. Ahora enfocamos nuestro servicio y nuestros materiales de manera integrada, potenciando así al máximo los recursos para los profesores y alumnos. Gracias a todos los profesores por estar ahí, dando su mejor esfuerzo. Ese gran esfuerzo hizo que tras casi 2 años de clases a distancia, los estudiantes hayan podido recibir sus enseñanzas. Cuenten, por favor, con todo nuestro apoyo para seguir adelante, para continuar en esta etapa, mejorando la educación en nuestro querido Perú. Muchas gracias a todos por habernos acompañado estos 2 días. Muchas gracias al equipo de Nutesa por la organización, Patti, Lourdes, Benji por ser unos excelentes anfitriones y, por supuesto, al resto del staff también. Ya los mencionaron mis compañeras hace un momento a todos. Realmente un placer trabajar con ustedes y haber estado compartiendo con ustedes estas experiencias y estas sesiones con la gente de las editoriales y de fuera para poder tener, pues, intercambio de ideas, ¿no? Creo que es muy, muy provechoso y cuenten que seguiremos con esta filosofía de seguir apoyándonos mucho. Espero que nos veamos muy pronto.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Fiorella.
Gracias.
Thank you. Thank you for those words. This was the formal closing that we have this almost afternoon. But what is next? What we have next? Yes, you are waiting
Yes.
for the
Something
raffle.
very important, the raffle and surprises,
Yes,
Patricia.
of course, surprises. What we have, Lourdes, let us know. Benji, show
Yes.
us. Yes.
First, okay, we have from our friends from CTS, Customized Training Services, we have some prizes for their Facebook academic event in November. Yes. And then we have one half prize. Let me tell you about it. Tenemos una media beca para un curso B2 First, para que puedan prepararse aquellos profesores que están por sacar su certificado de Cambridge, ¿sí? Acerca del examen B2. Tenemos para ellos la mitad de la beca para prepararse con nuestros amigos de CTS. A personalized course, yes, with mocks and reports. Excellent opportunity. Then we have two prizes from National Geographic Learning. Yes, estos premios son accesos. ¿Sí? Al ganador se le va a hacer llegar a su correo los accesos para que puedan ingresar. From National Geographic, we have two, and from one prize, methodology, a methodology brain-friendly grammar here, yes? Methodology prize for one of you. So we have 4 prizes, and then we have 2 more.
8.
1 half prize, and then 1 prize from Express Publishing.
Okay. Yes.
8 prizes, yes?
Yes, 8 prizes by now. So let's start with the four first prizes from CTS, yes, for the academic Facebook event that it was going to be in November.
No, in
right?
November,
So
yes.
4 prizes, and let me read. Okay, who the winners are. 4 prizes from from CTS.
From
Customized
CTS.
Training Services.
Yes.
Customized Training Services. The Facebook event. Okay. Who are the winners? Who are the winners? Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, and let's see. Okay, Alamiro Romero Cueva. Is he here? Yes.
Yes, Alamiro.
Yes,
Aquí está.
sí,
Okay,
está Alamiro
okay.
Cueva.
Dula Sedano Inga.
Miss Dula.
I'm here.
Yes.
Nice to see you, Dula.
Fabiola Beatriz Gordillo.
Aquí, presente.
Good. Congratulations.
Nice to see
And
you,
one more.
Fabiola.
Benji, no puedo. I cannot read the
Shirley.
Shirley Paola Merino
Presente.
Romero.
Está presente también.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Hello,
dear
thank
teacher.
you. Thank you so much. I'm
Congratulations. We
very
are going to
happy.
be in
Thank
contact
you.
with you, right?
Thank you, Shirley.
Yes.
Thank you
One
so
more
much.
prize, the half prize from CTS.
La media beca para prepararse para el FCE. A ver quién se la lleva. Let's see.
Okay, 3, 2, and the winner is Jacqueline Roxana Roldán Hermosa. Is she here? Are you here? Are you here?
Como
no está.
Jacqueline no está.
No está.
No está. No está.
So, Maritza Fuentes de Barreda. Are you
Sí está.
here?
Maritza Fuentes, sí.
Yes, congratulations. Congratulations.
Oh,
Very
Maritza,
good.
nice to see you.
Hello.
Thank
Nice.
you.
Okay. Now, the 2 prizes from National Geographic.
Sí.
2 prizes from National Geographic. Vayan tomando los nombres, chicas, por favor. Okay. 2 prizes. Yeah, Gloria Amelia Salas Cadenas. Is she
Sí
here?
está.
Great.
Sí, thank you.
Great.
Congratulations.
Luis Alfredo también está.
Luis Alfredo Guaripata. Congratulations. Congratulations to you, right? Very good. Now, the prize from Express Publishing.
Yes. It's a
Brain-friendly
methodology book.
grammar. Yes,
Methodology.
methodology access for grammar.
Yes.
Let's see. 1 prize for Luzmila Evangelina Maita Coaguila. Is she here?
Yes, hay una Miss Luzmila, pero no
Yes.
están sus otros datos.
Miss?
Yes, Luzmila.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Okay, she is here, right, okay. Right, so thank you so much. And this is the moment that we have to get to the end. And well, let me tell you something that is really important in this 80th anniversary. Okay, you know that in Nutesa we are working like a family, and it's not only because we work in a group, work in a team, but because of you, because you make us feel that we are really working in a family. Thank you so much, dear teachers. Thank you so much for these 2 days, 2 wonderful days sharing with you, with all our love. We really hope you appreciate Lourdes, Benji, and me being part of the academic department and all of the commercial team. Thank you for this wonderful moment. And this is the time that you can unmute, feel free and say whatever you want to say for our anniversary. Saying
Happy anniversary.
Thank you very much.
Happy
anniversary.
You
look
Happy
stunning, my
anniversary.
dear
Happy
woman.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you so
You
much.
look stunning.
Blessings for all of you.
Happy
Blessings for all of you.
Happy
You look
See you next
anniversary.
year.
Thank you. Thank
Happy
you very much.
anniversary.
Happy
Very
anniversary.
nice day
Happy
today.
anniversary.
Thank
Very
you.
much.
Anniversary.
Thank you.
very much for
Thank you
Thank you
so
very
much.
much for
Thank you.
Thank
See
Thank
you
you
next
very
time.
much.
Thank you very much.
See you
Happy
soon.
anniversary.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
Thanks to
Thank
all
you.
of
A
you, really.
pleasure. God
Yes.
bless you. God bless you. Right?
Bye-bye.
Congratulations. Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Speed on the
Bye.
gas and go for
Thank you so
more.
much.
Lourdes.
Thank you.
Nice.
Hi,
Thank
Lourdes.
you.
Goodbye.
Miss
Alicia,
Dina.
congratulations.
Yeah, yeah.
Dos.
You look
Bye.
stunning.